Oh, okay. Did I hear cymbals? No!
Roll back over here. Hello again, friends, and you are
Roll
our
back
friends.
over the keyboard.
Hey, you were in such a good mood last week. Let's keep that spirit up for another fun episode of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru right here. On another day, it's raining here, and we're going to be reining in the wrestling talk with this man. I'm your host, the great Brian Last, but this man, the puppy prince of Louisville, or whatever we're calling him today.
What the hell is that?
The leader of the cult of Cornette, Mr. Jim Cornette.
Well, first of all, partner, you're going to rein me and you lasso me. They're on the wild frontier. I'm not the puppy prince. The puppies are the princes, the two princes of Castle Cornette. I am still the king until they figure out a way to somehow stab me in the back or poison me to ascend to the throne. But until then, I'm the boss around here, and the puppies are doing lovely. Thank you for asking. Nature Boy Buddy Cornette and Alfred Puddensworth Cornette. I revealed over the past couple of weeks that we've had the blessed event here at the castle. And Brian, I said they were wrestlers on the last show. They got two little Darby Allens here. They're little 3-pound risk takers. And while Nature Boy Buddy, obviously, he's more of a high spot guy, but I found that his finish now, or his favorite move, seems to be the pounce. Because he'll wait until Alfie's off balance and he'll just spring and just body tackle him into a rolling bump. So it looks more like the Nature Boy, but Alfie is the grappler. And he loves the waistlock followed by a variety of takedowns. But I believe yesterday I saw a Cornish hype out of him. So he may have been studying in Wigan. I'm not sure.
All right.
What are you scoffing at that my puppies couldn't get a scholarship to Wigan?
Wigan. Get out of here.
Well, they've been chewing, so they might as well be Wigan. I'll tell you what, though, they approved an old adage that I've had and my mother had. Mama Cornette and I've had, dogs are smarter than people. Do you know how they've proven this already? Because what we did was in those moments where we don't want to turn our back on them and let them get into anything they shouldn't be while they're still getting acclimated. They're just mere babies. We got them a kid's playpen where we can put them in as waterproof bottom. It's a net they can see through and a blah, blah, blah. But, Brian, I'll have you know that the one thing they like to chew, and if you keep an eye on them, they'll only chew their toys. But the one thing that they have destroyed since they have been here is they had a jailbreak from the playpen. They were able to chew and rip asunder the seam between the netting on the side and the waterproof liner at the bottom and open up a hole big enough to escape. It was like a goddamn prison break. And so what we did was we got them an actual puppy playpen that Stacy found on the internet, and it's different shaped, but it's built differently, and it's about the same size. It's a little apartment for them, and they can't get out of that thing. And that proves that dogs are smarter than kids. Because if you put 2 10-week-old kids in these playpens, they can't get out. They can't figure it out. All they need to do is gnaw through the seam. But the dogs within days figured it out. That's solid testing proof right there.
Well, Gremlins in the movie Gremlins, they kind of learn skills pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, but it seems like that there would be some kind of lawsuit against the child playpen manufacturers if you get this thing and it only keeps them in about 5 days. So obviously they're not having this problem.
Do you have any fears that they're not getting along, or is everything seem all right with the two of them in terms of...
Oh, Jesus Christ. for the first couple of days, because when they start playing, then they will start running at high speeds in circles around the room and grabbing at each other and growling and snarling and yiping and yelping and rolling over each other and snapping their jaws into each other. And then they'll stand up, walk over to the water bowl, like, "Good morning, Sam. Morning, Bob." Have a drink next to each other, and then and start locking up again like werewolves. So they seem to love it. Yeah, they're brothers. Brothers may fight, but they get along. They will defend themselves and our family. So if anybody tries to mess around at the castle, their ankles are going to be ripped to shreds by these creatures. I will release the hounds.
All right, this has been the Royal Puppy Pageant. And now...
Boy, I used to get so mad at that Westminster dog show because Vince, he would have a goddamn conniption fit every year when USA used to, I started to say maltreat, but mistreat, fucking preempt the Raw for the Westminster Dog Show, which nobody watched, but was a big advertising windfall for them. And we used to have to do all kinds of special bullshit. I think it was that was the time of year that Russo was the only one that sat around to hear Vince complain, so he let him be the writer.
I tried to watch that thing. You think, oh, it must be entertaining at least. No, it's the worst, driest, most boring shit while people are inspecting the assholes of dogs. It's...
Yeah, no, I love dogs, but I can't. Yeah. There's no reason. They're not even allowed to be cute. They have to act like they're dipshit owners.
They look miserable. Miserable. Here, walk around this way again, Hector.
I guarantee you, if somebody hit the fucking dog circle there with about 5 Rottweilers and pit bulls that just attacked all the humans, those fucking dogs would cheer and throw their fucking hats in the air.
Where are all the people that like protest, like women wearing fur or the ethical treatment of it? Like, why don't they all get together and invade the Westminster Dog Show and just all they have to do is like let the dogs out? Just like free the dogs. Like let the dogs storm 34th Street. That's what I think really works.
Who let the dogs out?
It was Peter.
But yeah, so free the dogs from the Westminster, the fascist overlords.
It would be quite the sight too, because no two dogs there look alike. It's just a variety of the weirdest looking dogs and some of the most standard old school looking dogs. Again, tearing down 34th Street, trying to get to the west side, probably to go to a club. Well, Jim, that has been Puppy Talk.
There you go, Puppy Talk.
Where do we go from here? I have no idea.
Well, it's your show. You're in charge of all the segues and the entrees and the Sivu plays, but I can mention just as a transition to give you some time to fucking think of something. The time is running out. It's almost the end of June at JimCornette.com. The proceeds of sales of my book, Heroes and Friends, will go to the WHAS Crusade for Children through June. 30 days has September, April, June. There it is. 30th. The 30th day of the June. And then I start keeping the money again. So your last hand, we will, the week after, or the first week or whatever, as soon as July comes around, we will have a total tabulation for you that we will reveal. But anyway, and you can always buy other things there too, JimCornette.com. The T-shirts are quite popular this time of year because you don't want to wear a fucking hoodie. It's goddamn 90 outside. JimCornette.com.
Once again, at JimCornette.com. Jim, want to make a correction and a follow-up from last time when discussing the pizza place. We were discussing Sting and the name Sting, and I brought up how the late Scott Cornish hated Sting and brought up how everything about him was unoriginal, including his catchphrase, "It's showtime." I said it was from Batman. I was thinking of the wrong Michael Keaton movie. It was Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. I was going for who was I going for?
The Mask.
Jim Carrey instead of the other funny fellow that you just spoke of, who was Michael Keaton in the wrong, and you said Batman. See, I knew it. What the fuck would Batman have to do with anything?
It's Michael Keaton. That's what got me.
I thought it was the Joker, but he didn't say that.
It came out the year before Batman with Michael Keaton. It's not like I quoted Gung Ho or something. Or Mr. Mom.
Gung Ho, he starred with Jack Lord in Hawaii Five-0. You remember him? He was one of the lieutenants. Gung Ho.
Not the same thing. But this has been a happy talk, ladies and gentlemen. Just some happy talk here. Jim, as we move on, there's a lot going on in the world of wrestling, and we're going to get to a lot of different things. Let's do a follow-up first. Let's start with this. Have you been following the Tommy Dreamer stuff? Ever since we talked about on your show TNA's releases, they put out a press release saying that Tommy was gone, mutual decision. Tessa had been granted her release. She said she chose Mexico over them. And others, because they didn't want to name the other people that had been released from their
the other one guy.
But
Sammy Callahan was like, and others.
And we talked about that, and I certainly let my thoughts be known that I don't think it was a loss to TNA or anyone for Tommy Dreamer not to be in a creative position. But since that time,
well, and by the way, I will say that I chimed in and I said, that whole thing at OVW 20 years ago where he created a mystery that didn't leave anybody the solution. I said he might be able to train wrestlers, but don't let him anywhere near the book. And he likes all of the modern stuff way too much for my taste, but hadn't seen him in years. So apparently now this is not really a follow-up. This is a brand new all-encompassing thing involving the guy.
Yeah, and I'm trying to right now pull together all of these tweets to see where it came from. So it appears on social media with a referee named Perch on June 20th.
Wait a minute. A referee named, is that his first name or last name, Perch? Is he a parakeet?
It says Perch, and his Twitter handle is @PerchXLV. So no hint to what his name would be other than Perch.
Okay, and he's a referee. All right.
Tommy Dreamer pulled me aside backstage at a TNA show, telling me he would do everything he could to make sure I don't earn a job in the wrestling business. All I did was try to learn and grow from experiences, though his words were very discouraging for a young student to hear. So let's stop there, and there's some photos he attached of him refereeing in TNA.
What does Perch look like?
He's a slighter, a very slight, thin young man, like a young Tommy Young, a smaller and younger Tommy Young, maybe? Smaller and younger Tommy Young, I think is what I'll go with. Other people have come out since then from the independent wrestling community.
Hold on.
Let me just say this to verify that Perch is not like some scummy guy. They say that he's an honourable guy, an honest guy. They love him. They've never had a problem with him. Not one person has said, like, this fucking guy, yeah.
No, I mean, all these things can be true. He doesn't have to be the scum of the earth and a no-good bastard. That motherfucker stole my milk money type of fucking thing. We love him. He's a nice guy to also be just a complete shits. Let's not overlook that. Normally, if you engender that type of response from any official, any training person, or anybody, if he's in TNA, this doesn't sound like, was this training or or do they just consider TNA's television product training? I need more information on that. But let's assume that he was refereeing for TNA and Tommy Dreamer was the creative honcho that he was, or an agent or whatever. If you engender that kind of response, generally there will be more specificity delivered with it. Like you will be told exactly why, you stupid motherfucker, that you will never darken this doorstep again. Right? If it's just something that, that guy's a shits or whatever, then you just stop booking them. But so I would need more information on if there was any other message delivered along with that, because this guy says he's trying to learn. Well, was it a training session? Because then the only time I ever hear shit like that is when somebody attempts to kill somebody. And whoever's saying, well, I'll fucking never get you booked, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Even if it was a training session, the idea you would go up to someone and say, that was the shits, or you're not good, or I can't see how this will happen. That's one thing.
Yes.
To pull them aside backstage and say, I'm going to make sure you never work anywhere in this way. That's crazy.
And see, that's why I remember always, every time that I always say, in wrestling conversations, I need more information. Generally, it comes out that there is more information. There were more words were used. And so I can believe it of Ole Anderson. I can believe it of me. I believe there's a couple of times I believe I may have said something to that description. Or when I told the Shane twins, how long y'all been wrestling? 10 years. You need to find a new line of fucking work. Get the fuck out of here. Shit like that, but they knew exactly why. And so with Dreamer I haven't heard of him being the kind of person that goes off on, I'll fucking dog you until your dying day and make sure your children are penniless in a gutter.
Well, someone came out to defend Tommy Dreamer after that first tweet. Several people did, but the most prominent one, Missy Hyatt did. Brett Lauderdale of GCW did.
Well, now see, if I was friends with him, I'd tell him, stay home on this one. I can't imagine you being a character witness for wrestling fucking people.
But here's a tweet from Mickey James Aldis, hashtag at Mickey James, or not hashtag at Mickey James.
What are you doing to everybody knows who she is and where they can find her.
Perch, listen, I don't know you. But I do know Tommy Dreamer well enough to know that if he truly said this, there is far more to this story that you are conveniently leaving out. If you are going into come on here, or maybe she spoke this, I don't know how this got translated. If you are going into come on here and attempt to bury someone, especially someone who is loved, respected, and responsible for helping so many folks, including myself, in this industry, then at least be completely honest. I understand you want to speak your truth and possibly gain a bit of recognition by jumping on the bandwagon. However,
wait a minute, how many other people's on this fucking cart?
However, if this is your path to 15 seconds of X-Buzz, at least have the common decency to speak the whole truth. This ain't it. It's also pretty dumb, because Tommy will always have a job in the business. I don't know if I could say the same for you. Have a blessed day.
Oh, you know what? That's the modern version of bless your heart. When you heard bless your heart when you were a kid, you knew the adults were fucking just ripping somebody. But nevertheless, well, I mean, her point, in probably a much kinder delivery fashion than mine was, there's something else going on here. And I would love to hear it just so we can laugh about that too. But again, if the worst thing that they're coming up with is Tommy Dreamer told us one fucking guy, you know what, don't ever try this again. I'm sorry, that doesn't put him in the Manson family to me.
It just builds into everything else. Again, this was the guy that, as stupidly as anyone could, defended Ric Flair on that dark side of the ring about the plane ride from hell. Remember that?
Well, and that is, nobody has accused Tommy Dreamer of being an eloquent person who
of having
evaluates things before he speaks. Yeah. Well, it's there somewhere, but think how many times that its fucking burglar alarm has gone off. So there might be something to that right there.
I respect Mickie James standing up for her friend. I don't know if she needed to hit out at this person, because if she doesn't know the whole truth, then she shouldn't assume that there's a whole truth out there. You know,
well, it sounds to me like she's saying she kind of knows what there's. Oh, God damn it. Here's my phone. That's while I'm fucking, I don't know who that is. Hold on. I'll jump back in again. Well, it kind of sounds to me like she knows that there's something more to be said, but it's not whatever her place to say it or whatever the case.
Well, there was something more to be said. After that, a tweet went out from someone named Kennedy, Kennedi, on Twitter at @ThatKenDog. I used to wrestle, it says in the profile. Hold up, are we sharing our Tommy Dreamer stories? Because one time I told him I really wanted to take a cane shot in a match, and he told me he doesn't do that with women, so instead we did a spanking spot because women. Am I right? And she posted a photo of Tommy Dreamer spanking her.
Wait, but that's the way she actually wrote that.
That's the way she wrote it. That's the way she wrote it.
That sounds worse than Mickie James's talk to text or whatever the fuck. Well, so this is apparently a woman wrestler named Kennedy. Now, we've established by the content of that text who was in a match that apparently Dreamer was the fucking babyface in the corner or of something of that nature, or some type of commissioner. And she wanted to get caned because, of course, that's cool, Brian. You know, when they hit you with the fucking kendo stick. But Dreamer said, no, just I'll spank you. That's the same thing that I would have said if one of the girls had come to me 20 years ago at OVW and said, oh, and then they can cane me. No, just have him turn you over his knee and spank you. We're not hitting girls with kendo sticks in this venue, whether it may be a Catholic high school or a goddamn rec center or whatever the fuck. They don't want the girls to be beating each other with weapons, so we'll do a spanking spot. And then they all go, yay, he spanked the bad girl. What the are these people out of their fucking mind?
This isn't 20 years ago. This is modern wrestling, and Tommy Dreamer's involved with all this. But that led to another tweet. And this one's from apparently a current wrestler, I believe, Danny Jordan, DANI JORDYN, Danny Jordan. I've been waiting for this. One time, Tommy Dreamer insisted.
What? One time in band camp.
One time, Tommy Dreamer insisted on doing a crotch grab spot to me. In a tag match he was a fill-in for. This had no place in our storyline, but he didn't care to ask. I did not want to do this, said how uncomfortable I was, but I'm just a woman, right? And then a second tweet here. I was new in my career, should have trusted my intuition, said a firm no, and not succumbed to peer pressure for this spot. This is the only thing that's happened in my career that felt degrading, because I vowed to never let a motherfucker, or MF, she said, try me on some uncomfortable shit ever again.
Boy, these people sound pissed off for what. And secondly, if you've been in the wrestling business all that time and that's the only bad thing that ever happened to you, bless you. You're now unique in the history of the world. I don't know. What was the crotch grabbing? Who was supposed to grab whose crotch? And I don't.
No one was supposed to grab anyone's crotch, and Tommy Dreamer insisted on doing that with one of the girls in the match. That's what she said.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying is I'm not even trying to defend Dreamer now because I can't imagine. I'm trying to, in my mind, put together the great crotch grab spot that would be indispensable. It couldn't easily be not done. And it doesn't come to mind, but I don't know who was grabbing whose crotch and whether or not that he was one to grab hers or he was wanting her to grab his or he was grabbing somebody else's with her. I don't know. But on that one, I I don't think that a crotch grab spot has ever been indispensable, but if somebody calls it and you don't say, I don't want to do that, or no, you ain't grabbing my crotch, or whatever, then there have also been many crotch spots called in the wrestling business. But that's I don't know where this attitude came from in the modern training facilities on both sides of the fence, whether it's the trainers or the trainees, that either side can't. There was nothing about grabbing of the crotches. Regardless, you didn't grab crotches, except if you could cover it up and fucking rib the guy on a clinch anyway, or stick your finger up his ass or whatever, but the fans couldn't see it. But those spots weren't done to begin with, so we didn't really have to cover that as we evolved in our wrestling knowledge. But now it seems like that it would kind of be a protocol that if a guy is somehow wanting to do something with a girl's crotch, or a girl is somehow wanting to do something with a guy's crotch, regardless of who the booker, matchmaker, trainer is and who the other one is, the doer would be the one to ask it, do you have a problem with this first? And then yes or no, okay, well, now do it, or we will, or whatever. How does this fester into finally this can be revealed?
Well, again, there's more.
Just say, no, don't grab my crotch. Or could I please grab your crotch?
Well, she said she was early in her career and she wishes she had felt comfortable enough around, obviously, veterans to say, no, you can't grab my crotch. And she didn't. But there's more.
Okay.
This has caused a lot of people to upload a lot of things about Tommy Dreamer, a variety of things. Here's him talking to, I guess, giving advice to wrestling students. There's a girl here. The quote, if you have to lose 5 pounds, lose 10. That's what he said.
What? Okay. What?
Too bad no one gave Tommy that advice, by the way.
Well, and now, but hold on. In all fairness, Jim Ross, Paul Heyman, even myself in my chubby days have all uttered that to other people, but in the guise of if they're playing professional athletes, then, but what is inflammatory about if they tell you to lose 5 pounds, lose 10? What?
I would have to watch the video, but I think the idea that in front of a room full of guys, you're telling this one girl to lose 10 pounds, I think to a lot of women, that's particularly offensive.
Well, fuck those women. Because if she's in the locker room, she's on the fucking team. If you're on the goddamn team, somebody at some point is going to tell you to lose 10 pounds. Fucking cut your hair. Let's find a different outfit. Whatever the fuck. It's a goddamn. It's Hollywood. Do you think that Betty Davis told Edith Head what she was going to wear?
All right, that's a Steve Beverly reference if I ever heard one.
There you go.
Jim,
see?
Charlie Bravo, who's a male wrestler for AEW. He's I think he's part of the Shane Taylor group and a Ring of Honor champion of some description. But he tweeted out also his name on Twitter at Bad News and Tattoos, or Bad News and Tattoos is the name.
And whose crotch did they want him to grab?
He told me I was very talented, but he couldn't hire me because, quote, he didn't know if he could market cocky black guy to the world. Needless to say, I'm on top of my game and never changed one bit. Run it up. Fuck what anyone else said. Okay, so now we're getting away from the crotch and the weight, and we're getting to him telling an African-American wrestler that he can't...
That... What you established earlier that Tommy Dreamer may not win any intelligence fucking examinations, or, you know, he may be at the Trump level on the cognitive tests or whatever. He's kind of like Al Snow that Al says a lot of things he thinks are funny, and you go,
He's Al Snow off the gas.
Because it would that be a rib? Because I mean, it's on the surface of it, it's a ridiculous statement, but could he be saying like The Rock? Oh, how am I gonna like? Was he trying to?
Well, the other thing is, he can't market it. Who the fuck wants Tommy Dreamer to do any marketing?
Yes,
that's the bigger problem. Tommy Dreamer being a moron is certainly part of the problem. Tommy Dreamer not being someone who should be in a management position is part of the problem. This is a wrestling problem. There aren't other people getting slotted in there. It's someone like Tommy Dreamer. Well,
if you're around long enough and will put up with enough bullshit from the wrestling business, and even if you've saved your money, if you just love to be in the wrestling business, then you end up in these positions. Am I right?
Yeah, and that's the problem. You know, it's not, Mickey James said Tommy Dreamer will always have a job in wrestling. That's a problem. That's not like a good thing. He needs to go find another job somewhere else and see how that works out, because...
Well, no, but wait a minute. That's the point. Is how old is Tommy Dreamer? That's what, I mean, he's, I consider him one of the younger generation. But, I mean, does anybody ever just say, you know, fuck it, fuck this fucking business and these headache motherfuckers and I'll retire? Saying he'll always have a job in wrestling is like a curse, like the curse of the werewolf. Even a man who is pure at heart and says his prayers by night will keep staying in his goddamn business until his asshole is puckered up tight.
He's 55 years old. Again, you know, I see various people. Missy Hyatt says that he's an asset to any company. No, you like him. You like him. He doesn't have good ideas. He can't, even as a wrestler, he never figured out how to do a promo. He's such a big wrestling fan, wanted to get into the business, couldn't do promos, couldn't work. And eventually had to work with his t-shirt because he couldn't do sit-ups. Like, give me a break. They like this guy personally, but this guy's been a net negative to professional wrestling, at least since his retirement. If you're a big ECW fan, you may see things a different way, but he was Laurinaitis' stooge, wasn't he?
Oh, yes. At one point there in the mid 2000s, as they say, he was underneath. He was underneath Laurinaitis. But I'm not trying to. I haven't been around Tommy Dreamer or spoken enough to Tommy Dreamer, or even like you, because I didn't see a lot of ECW. Watched a lot of fucking Tommy Dreamer, so I can't with specificity go chapter and verse as you can on exactly all the different ways he should modify his behavior and how we should dislike him. As far as, except for don't let him near a fucking writing instrument, a pencil, a pen, a typewriter, a laptop, whatever.
I'm not saying you
chisel beside stone.
I'm not saying don't like him. Everyone can like who they want, but I'm saying don't put him in charge of the business.
And that's the thing is I'm saying is that everybody said, oh, we love Tommy. Tommy always tries to help. Well, you know, that can be a wonderful fellow. It can also try to help you straight off the cliff. But based on what people are accusing him of here today, my God, I can't see that he's a horrible human being.
Again, more stories are being posted about things. I don't even remember some of this.
Well, I would be more than happy to hear some of it.
Apparently, when Rob Feinstein got busted by Perverted Justice or whatever it was on the same TV channel that John Clark's a sports anchor on, of all coincidences, in Philadelphia, he wanted to show up at Ring of Honor and defend Feinstein from the ring. Apparently, he wanted to get.
Yeah. He's a wonderfully loyal fellow to his old friends.
Everyone. He wanted to get a gun and kill Paul Heyman at WrestleMania.
And see, wait a minute. That's a second thing. That's a second thing that I've figured out now that I dislike about Tommy Dreamer. One is his booking. And two is him not following through with things.
Oh, come on now. You've taken it too far. That's not nice.
Well, he's always
Heyman's done the best work of his career since then. You can't deny it.
Yeah, but imagine what a blaze of glory he would have gone out.
He would have shot himself in the foot. That's the kind of guy he is.
That's the thing. Dreamer would have missed fucking Heyman as big as he is. He would have missed him and he'd kill somebody.
He would have shot Lillian Garcia or someone. That's what would have happened. Would have been the timekeeper's down. What the fuck's going on? Oh, it's Tommy Dreamer. Chimmel. He wasn't booked.
It's Chimmel. Chimmel's down. Okay, keep the show going. Nothing more to see.
That's not nice. Tony Chimmel's a fine gentleman. But, yeah, again, there's nothing in his track record that makes you think he could handle, fun and games aside, nothing that shows you he could handle writing a good wrestling show. Nothing that shows you he knows how to book. Nothing that shows you he knows how to manage talent, apparently, or deal with people on a way that doesn't cause people to run to Twitter and complain about him.
Well, some of these people have been holding this in for a while now, and also take a break, because when you go from job to job to job in the wrestling business, sometimes by the time that you get to the lower part of those jobs, they've figured out that you're just going to take a goddamn job. So make somebody call you and talk you into it rather than just, I love the game.
You bring up Paul Heyman. You hear various people get mentioned as being like Paul Heyman's ultimate creation. Like, this is a great example of what he did with ECW, how he fooled the fans and he got away with, giving the least and getting the most out of it, or showing none of the bad stuff and only the good stuff. Tommy Dreamer is
a main event wrestler.
He's the ultimate guy that Paul Heyman took. Yeah. This guy with no physique, couldn't do a promo, couldn't work. Went to All Japan. Dory Jr. got him booked in All Japan. You ever see those matches? Couldn't work.
No.
And he put him in a t-shirt, told him to grow a goatee, had him pile drive women who then somehow became pregnant. The whole thing didn't make any fucking sense. And he did everything he could to make Tommy Dreamer the face of ECW. And a lot of those fans, still to this day, don't get that was like the Paul Heyman propaganda campaign. And I'm sorry, I saw him since he was TD Madison or whatever the fucking IWCCW. There's never been anything there. But he hung around the business forever, and I'm sure he'll hang around.
What was he doing while Sandman was with the wetsuit and the surfboard and the fucking white shit on his nose? Where was Dreamer along in his career? He was doing some kind of pretty boy thing at that point, wasn't he?
See, this is right around the time they actually got the Sandman over, because Paul Heyman was pushing Tommy Dreamer super hard when he took over ECW, and the fans didn't take to him because he sucked. I mean, he was just not, and he was just like a generic baby face. Like, even think of the name. Like, hey, I'm Tommy Dreamer. What the fuck? What is that fucking name?
He was like the Italian street corner guy in South Jersey or whatever, and Sandman had the surfboard and the fucking weird scuba suit.
I'm Stevie Pillow. Like, what kind of fucking name is that? And he's getting pushed, and Paul Heyman's really trying. Tommy Dreamer kicks out of the Superfly Splash. Didn't get the fans to stop booing him, start yelling at him. And then what he did was he got both guys over kind of at the same time. The Sandman had been developing, and he had his stuff going on with him and Woman. And then Tommy Dreamer lost a match where he had to get caned. And he got caned 10 times, slowly, while Woman teased him. And to those fans in Philly, in that building, and it wasn't a full building at that point, I don't think, they started to respect that Tommy Dreamer took this beating. And then they did the angle where he allegedly accidentally hit the Sandman in the eye, and the Sandman was blinded. And then the Sandman came back, took off the blinds, hit Tommy Dreamer with the cane, and started drinking beer and smoking a cigarette again. It was, at the same time, it's like Paul Heyman's, I don't know what you want to say. Like,
well, but and here's the thing. The point is, the way they got this guy over was that they really beat up the baby face right in front of people, hard weight him in effect, instead of in the face, in the back with the cane. And then suddenly that was so revolutionary to him, the idea that if you beat up the baby face, it will get him over, that they proceeded to full on start hammering the fuck out of each other in that old company with sticks and chairs and bricks and pots and pans and tin cans and everything else they could use for the next fucking 10 years. Is basically what happened.
And again, to end this, I'll just reiterate what I said after Dark Side. Go. Goodbye. Leave. Just get out. You said you wanted to die on camera. You did on that Dark Side episode. It's time to go.
Oh, no.
Go do something else. Go
on now. Go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now. You're not welcome anymore.
Please, just go.
Well, you've heard what Brian Last has to say, Dreamer Side. I'd recommend you start packing because he knows people.
Get out.
Get out. The fucking... The Amityville wrestler. Get out.
Well, Jim, the good thing is whether you're employed and in home or running around on the streets because...
In a home? If you're employed or you're in a home?
Well, what about the people on the run looking for work? And what about, this is the worst example ever. I guess my point is you can have fun wherever you are. You can have fun on the go.
Yes, if you're on the run from the law, well, under an assumed name.
Well, let's not focus on that portion of the audience.
Cash, don't leave a trace.
Let's focus on everyone else. You may want to head to the casino without having to go to the casino.
No, you've only got a limited amount of cash to fund your getaway. Don't take any chances.
Well, what I meant to say is that limited amount of cash, the best way to carry it around is in a limited kind of wallet. One that actually makes you limitless. You can carry around all your things, but it will be small and compact. Jim, the wonderful Ridge wallet.
Well, you could do that now, but then again, I can find reasons why you might not want to do that either. But I'll tell you, actually, altogether, you might want to do that. Folks, if you've ever wondered, where's my wallet? Oh, it's right there. It feels like a watermelon-sized growth on my hip and my back pocket that has misaligned my sacroiliac and caused some sternum misconception. And all of the things that I get inserted straight up there go the other direction because my posture is terrible. You don't need to have one of those old-fashioned wallets in your pocket anymore. Doctors will tell you that it leads to a high rate of stenosis and stenography. So, Ridge, the people that brought you that fine power bank that we keep talking about that you can plug anything into, even old Sparky down there in Tallahassee, Florida, and just cook them away. They've got the Ridge wallet that it was their first product, and that's why it's been perfected. It's their best one. 50 plus colors and styles to choose from, but all with the same technology, made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. You've heard about carbon footprints, Brian. Well, these things, they have scraped up carbon footprints and compressed them into a carbon fiber wallet so that automatically you're available when they run a Geiger counter over you to determine your amount of carbon and uranium. Boom, that's how they can find this wallet, because it's literally glowing with uranium and carbon fiber. Have you heard about this?
I think it's...
Are you there at all?
I'm here, and I'm writing down everything we have to walk back. But of course, Jim, what we're talking about, all the Ridge wallets, they have the RFID blocking technology that keeps you safe from digital pickpocketers. Yeah.
And see, that's what it is.
What we're talking about.
Every time one of these pickpocketers or pockpicketers come up and try to stick their digits in your pocket, the glowing uranium radioactive material contained in the carbon fiber wallet will burn their fingertips and they'll go, ow! And that will alert you to have them arrested. So nobody can pick your pocket or pocket your pick. That's why they've got over 100,000 five-star reviews that all of them start with, the son of a bitch put his hand in my pocket and he was fucked.
That is not how the review started. Of course, you can leave your own positive review after you have a wonderful positive experience like we have. I love my Ridge wallet, and you could have one too. A positive experience and a Ridge wallet. There goes my pen. You could have it all.
You can't stick your pen in the Ridge wallet. There's no room for that, but there is room for 12 cards and some cash. And again, this thing is indestructible. It's the last thing that you're ever going to, it's not the last thing you're ever going to buy. That would indicate that you would
So
die
long,
shortly
folks.
after.
You're
It's
on your
the
way
last, the last wallet.
The joke's on you, folks. It's over.
You didn't really need anything to hold your money in, did you? But it's the last wallet you're ever going to buy.
It is the last wallet you're ever going to need.
Yes.
That's for sure. And of course,
Yes, because
long life
you'll
thrall.
have not enough money after this to buy any other wallets. And they've got free shipping. So right there, you're getting some back.
You will have money.
Yes, for the 99-day risk-free trial. As if you can have it for 99 days, as long as you don't do anything risky, they'll take it back if you don't like it. And it's got a lifetime warranty. I don't know whether that's its lifetime or your lifetime, which we've established already may be brief. But once again, folks, for a limited time, our listeners can get 10% off at Ridge, RIDGE.com, Ridge.com, by using the promo code JCE at checkout. 10% off. With that code JCE, you're all set. And tell them that you heard about them here. Just don't tell them everything you heard until they pay us for what we've said so far. And but tell them we sent you over there. Just leave it at that. Don't go into detail. Ridge.com/JCE, 10% off.
That's right. I reiterate, we love our Ridge wallets. And you will too. I love my power bank also.
Yes.
That's a great
And
thing.
I reiterate, don't tell them word for word.
Again, we don't
just
have to.
The overall scheme of the thing,
You reiterating
without going
it
into too much detail,
is causing more people to have it fresh on their mind. I think you should drop it.
Well, I'm trying to make sure that they understand, as Gary Hart said, repetition is the key when dealing with goofs.
You should start ignoring things like that.
Boil it down.
Pretend it didn't happen, like you didn't have moldy figures that turn yellow. Just pretend it didn't happen. But Jim, let's move on here with the show. I have a missive here that was issued by Dax Harwood. Listeners have sent it over, wanted to get your thoughts. Let me read this. Since the summer of 2014, The Revival, FTR, Dawson and Dash, Dax and Cash, whatever you want to call us, we've had the pedal to the floor. Aside from my bicep tear in 2017, we've taken no time away from the job we've dreamed of having. Physically and mentally, we both became exhausted. We were two of the very few talents that traveled and worked on both Collision and Dynamite. I've fought through 3 hematomas on my lower back. Another bicep tear I decided not to have surgery on. Labrum tear from my groin to my hip. A shoulder that needs replacement.
I thought your labia was somewhere else.
Labrum. A shoulder that needs replacement. And probably a laundry list of other things I'm too afraid to get checked out. Ha ha. For the first time in 12 years, we've decided to step away and take some time for ourselves and for our families. I'm not sure when we'll be back, what we're going to do, how much longer we have, or
Jesus,
if we need to even prove anything at all anymore. However, we will see some of you on August 22nd for Appalachian Mountain Wrestling as we take on the Good Brothers in Corbin, Kentucky, and the following week, August 29th.
Wait a minute. Hold on. This goddamn... No.
I'm almost done. I'm only got to be finished here.
Pump the fucking brakes. All right, go ahead.
Also, the following week, August 29th, for Rev Pro Undisputed British Tag Team Championship as we take on the Young Guns in Wembley Arena. Until then, enjoy my Hawaii family vacation pictures. Top Guys, out.
What the... How can you make that heartfelt... speech like, oh, we don't know when or if we'll be back. We don't know how much time we got. We don't know what's going to go on. But we'll be in Corbin next week. Fucking Corbin, Kentucky. Mama Cornette was born outside of Corbin, Kentucky. Quite a long time ago, as a matter of fact. Um, look, again, I'm not trying to poo-poo the amount of injuries he's had. You can see the fucking knee braces and the fucking time Cash's arm was ripped open, and we've seen they've had various injuries. I'm not poo-pooing that at all, and they work very hard. And how old are those guys now at this point? Because it was over 10 years ago they were in NXT, and I Jesus Christ, it was 2009 when I saw Dax on that little independent show and tried to get him and got him the Ring of Honor tryout, which
Dax is 41. Busy. Dax is 41. Cash is 39.
Okay, so the point is, I would understand and more if they just said we're sick of this shit rather than all the grueling schedule. Because as I said, I'm not poo-pooing the injuries they've had, but that's over a period of more than a decade. Both on the road for Collision and Zabada, they're still having 2 matches a fucking week, maybe. Because, well, how often do they goddamn... We've seen them disappear for lengthy periods of time on Dynamite. So the point is, they do not have my sympathy on the schedule as far as the amount of times over the course of a month, every year that they currently wrestle. Is probably the less in the history of pro wrestling as a goddamn business. The injuries, yes, can be cumulative, especially when, you're around 40 years old. But I think their problem is, and this is a nice way of saying it, Jesus Christ, we are fed up with just this fucking horse shit. Horse shit booking and horse shit just the horse shit. Because what else they don't have anything else to prove. They're not in a place right now where they're going to be used any differently or against any type of different people appreciably over the next year or whatever it is. And goddamn, can you think, would it be any better in the WWE? So at this point, he's, at least Dax, I don't know where Cash currently resides, but Dax has a nice backyard with a bunch of trees in North Carolina, and I'm sure he's got fuck you money from this billionaire for the last few years. So if I were them, this is kind of, I'll say this, Brian, and you can chime in, this is kind of what I did when I cut that promo that aired on TBS when we left because we were just talking about on one of these programs here the last week about when we left WCW, when we gave our notice because George Scott was the booker, and then they fired George Scott before we actually finished, but we still went away just to take the bad taste out of people's mouths, the way we kind of had been used, and then came back hopefully fresh 2 months later. They're probably going to stay out a lot longer than 2 months because Tony will just pay them infinitely like he does everybody. But is this their way of saying, yeah, they've just ground us into powder, so we're going to go away for a while until we can do something somewhere that will make a difference?
Well, again, they're announcing Beyond Corbin, Kentucky, and boy, what a big show that sounds like. But they're going to be for Rev Pro in the UK on August 29th. August 30th is AEW at Wembley.
Well, maybe they'll be added to the card at the last minute because they showed up at the back door with their bags.
Unless this was to promote Corbin, Kentucky, and Rev Pro.
Well, now you know where Corbin is. It's 25 miles or so up the road from Barberville.
Oh, well, they don't need promotion at all. Excuse me, I take it back. Do you see any point in putting out a missive like this? Or I know everyone's on social media doing it.
If they were finished with everything, would be the point to do that. Or if they again, we're taking a break. If it was true, if everything they said there was true, we're just, fuck it, we need to take a break. Then that would be a reason to put it out, as long as you had already finished all your commitments. And if it's a work to lead to something, then you need to at least not have any commitments advertised that you then have to plug them. And we promise we're done. Oh, but I just need this chair. This chair and that's all I need. I'm done. Oh, and this lamp. You can't just go back on it in the same fucking statement.
And I don't think you can compare your promo on TBS knowing that you had given notice you were going to quit, but they had already made the move to get you to stay, but you were going to take that time. That's different than putting out a social media message. That's different than that's different than saying we've had all these injuries and we haven't taken time off, even though a lot of people have noticed, like you said, big gaps in their AEW career where they seemingly were off TV. If this is just so they can have a 2-month vacation, why do that? Why put out anything? Why say anything?
Well, I'm not saying 2 months. I've said ours was 2 months. I think they've probably told Tony, we're beat up, we're broke down, we're burnt out. How long is our contract? Maybe we'll come back next year or whatever. I think they're just like, fuck this shit.
All right, well, get well soon. Dax Harwood, I guess we could say, after reading all that. 3 hematomas on his lower back. Jeez.
It's a fucking bruise. It's a bruise with a lump.
Another bicep tear I decided not to have surgery on. What are your thoughts? If a guy tears a bicep, should they have surgery, or is it an okay thing to try to work through?
Well, number one, I've never told a bicep this secret before. I've never torn a bicep, so I'm not going to blunder into that. If it was a fucking knee issue, then I'm plenty schooled and I'd be able to give you a learned opinion. But I know that some guys have and some guys haven't. Some guys, the pec in front or whatever they want, they don't have fixed, whatever the case. It's always up to an individual, because sometimes you can compensate. And depending on your style, Gordy went a few years with no ACL in either knee, whereas somebody else wouldn't have been able to do that. So, I'm not poo-pooing that part of it. But I think they've realized that, holy Jesus Christ, we got nowhere to go where we can do any goddamn thing worth a shit anymore. Let's just go home.
Of course, CFTR in Corbin, Kentucky, and of course in the UK, coming up soon to a town near you.
And that Corbin, Kentucky event sponsored by a Chestnut Tax Service in Barberville see Dennis Chestnut for all your tax needs. How old would he be now? He'd be, oh my God, I bet you he'd be 83 by now, at least, if possibly 86.
Want to get your thoughts on this, your expertise on this, because it's been around for years. You may be one of the first people that had it. But Gary Michael Capetta put out a post on Facebook with it, and it really started going around, and listeners wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Wait a minute. I thought he told me that the test came back, he was clear.
Jim, it's the video.
Because I was one of the first ones that had it, but that didn't mean that he got it from me.
Jim, it is the famous video from Memphis TV of what appears to be a completely drunk Adam West as Batman meeting the Super King. We have audio here to play. Want to get your thoughts on this. And of course, one of your famous phrases comes from this. But we'll play a little bit of Adam West so people could hear television's famous Batman.
Well, now set it up a little bit. He's
never sounded before.
We'll set it up a little bit more coherently than that. This was the Saturday morning wrestling show, and this was 1976, so they were still on WHBQ Channel 13. But obviously it was Lance and Dave were the announcers. And I don't know whether they said the Carl Casper, one of those old-time custom auto shows that you would see the commercials for. Carl Casper's Custom Auto Show featuring, and they'd have a pretty girl celebrity with big old titties, and they would have a cool car or so like the Batmobile, or they would have like Batman, or in the days of Superman, whatever the fuck. And to promote, because Channel 5 had some interest to promote his appearance that day, or Channel 13, I should say, to promote his appearance that day at the car show, they got Adam West booked on the wrestling program, and he couldn't wear, because of whatever goddamn trademark deals he had with DC and, et cetera, he couldn't wear an entire Batman costume, but he could wear like a tracksuit, a dark blue and gray kind of tracksuit, and then enough of the Batman cowl to it where it passed, right? And this is what he was doing there that day when they brought him out on the show. That's the way you tell people what's going on. And he's got black bat gloves on.
That's right. Dave Brown interviewing Batman. Let's go to this.
I didn't want anyone to recognize me. But there is a rumor that Mr. Freeze and Penguin are here in Memphis because of the radical change in the weather, and that they have a hookup with the evil king of Memphis, who just might be wrestling here this morning.
Well, there's a cut there to Lawler coming out, so let me stop and, how drunk was Adam West?
Well, that's the thing.
At what time? What time was this taped?
10 or 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, depending on, exactly what, I don't know, but it would have either been 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. He had been enjoying, from the story that I heard, the nightlife on Beale Street and or wherever, and had come to the studio apparently not having bothered to, if he checked in his hotel room, he didn't use it. And they've got this set up. And by the way, it's unfortunate this is clipped up because this whole segment goes about 5 or 6 minutes. I have the unedited segment. I borrowed Lawler's tape of it when it had only been done like 4 years beforehand and copied the thing. But he was brought out there and you could tell, and he talks about the evil king of Memphis. And then as you heard, the people start reacting. There's a jump cut. Lawler comes out in a Super King outfit. It's a Superman red, yellow, and blue, but with a big fucking crown on the front of the chest instead of an S, and the cape and everything. And here he comes.
When did he have that made?
Apparently, almost immediately after this booking was done. But see, that's the thing. Lawler not only is a comic book fan, and he loves Neil Adams, so Batman artwork, and he's got a Batmobile, for fuck's sake. So he loved the Batman TV series. But every year he goes to Metropolis, Illinois, to that convention they have out there. He was there this year, just last month or whenever it was. The Metropolis, Illinois has a Superman convention. He loves Superman. So his chance to be Super King against the real Batman, it was fucking classic. And I don't know how long this goes, but they went back and forth for 2 or 3 minutes at least.
Wait a minute.
Do you know who this is? Is that who I think it is? Yes, it is. What is this?
Well, what does it look like? Tell me, what does it look like? I heard he was going to be here today, so I dressed appropriately. That's what it is, the Super King. What else?
Okay, you say maybe you're going to be able to give us some help with this guy here. You're on the case, and I think we're going to need all the help we can get with the King.
Well, now, I've heard he's had his troubles with the Joker and the Penguin and Mr. Freeze, but he hadn't handled the King yet. And I got somebody in a box that I'm going to bring out here in just a few minutes that'll make a Joker look like Mickey Mouse, I can tell you that.
Oh, let me stop it there. Is this the same episode where he has Dr. Frank in the box?
Dr. Frank, yes. That's where he reveals or starts the reveal of Dr. Frank. I think they milked it a couple of weeks. But he brings his box out later in the show.
I've heard about your box. Yeah. I want to say that costume that you're wearing, if you are indeed the evil king of Memphis, has been stolen from a friend of mine, Soup. Superman. I call him Soup.
Right.
And I think that Spider-Man, Spidey Baby, would probably object too. By the way...
Let me stop it there, because now we're crossing over.
Yeah, we're crossing over into Marvel Comics, because Adam West, he don't know where his goddamn car is parked, much less who's signed to what fucking magazine publishing company.
Looking at you, I don't think it's too late for you. I think that possibly, if you change some of your habits, some of your methods of wrestling, if you used your left and right turn indicator in your car, did other things that people normally do.
Let me stop it there. How did he keep a straight face at that line?
I think probably because he's so pickled, he's numb.
And obviously, people have heard you use that phrase for years.
Yes, that's where that comes from. Yes. From 50 years ago, like this past month.
When they're polite and courteous, and you weren't such a naughty, mean person, it wouldn't be too late for you.
And I can see that you're not familiar with these rednecks that we have around here.
Rednecks?
That's exactly right. That's right.
I tell you what, gentlemen,
They
I
look
think
like
splendid people to me, and they're Bat fans. I know they are. And I think it's insulting to call them rednecks.
I think maybe we better settle this elsewhere. And again, both of
I
you are
got to
going to
get
be at
Dr.
the...
Frank in here anyway.
Both of you are going to be down at the Cook Convention Center at the car show all
Yes,
this
we
weekend,
are.
and maybe you can settle it there. Badman, appreciate you coming by, and
Thank you very
and
much.
hope you
He's
can get
not
us
a nice
with a
man,
king
is
here.
he?
Well, there it is. That's where it cuts off.
Is that he says he's not a nice man at all, but I believe there's hope for him. I believe we can rehabilitate him at Gotham State Penitentiary.
Well, Gary Michael Capetta decided to clip that portion of it.
What is it? He to blame, or is he just stealing someone else's shoddy work and palming it off
Well, I'm
as
not
his?
blaming him, but he's the one who posted it. This is from Gary Michael
Well, he
Capetta.
could have posted somebody else's post, and they could have edited it in a falsifying manner.
Who knew? The world's most dangerous ring announcer and editor. Well, Jim, that was Super King meeting Batman. Too bad there's no follow-up. Nothing else comes from this ever again.
Oh.
But with that, it's been a lot of fun so far. We shall return right after this short commercial timeout.
Oh, for heaven's sake!
I didn't get the chance to practice today, so I'm trying to get a little extra in just to...
Yeah, I got time I could be playing with the puppies for 15 more seconds, so that if you would just shorten that up a little bit.
Well, Jim, speaking of puppies, the puppies are fighting again. Wrestling stars taking to social media to air out their grievances and challenge each other to worked fights and shoot fights and worked matches and who knows what's going on. It's the crazy, zany world of wrestling. We have an update. A feud or a story has broken out. Something's happening.
There's all kinds of words breaking out. Words and phrases have broken out.
I have something here from Fightful Wrestling News on Facebook.
See, even the title of the sites is violent.
Bully Ray says he would beat the shit out of Jon Moxley. Here's a quote. The Death Riders have not helped AEW in any way, shape, or form. The Death Riders are Jon Moxley playing out his pro wrestling fantasies because he's got Tony's ear. Because he wants to be Terry Funk?
Wow.
I would kick the shit out of Jon Moxley. Ray added that Death Riders member Claudio Castagnoli would pose a different challenge.
Well,
but
yes.
he could certainly handle Moxley. Once again, here's another quote. But Moxley? I'd beat the living shit out of him. Fraud! And that's the quote.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, we can break that down, but no lies detected. Is that what the kids say? I mean, it's hard to argue with that flat out declarative statement. Not only his evaluation of Moxley's work, which is about what we've been saying for the past 5 years, but again, I haven't seen Bubba Ray in years and years, right? Like I haven't seen most people in years, and I don't like it that way. But I don't know how old he is right now. But if the Bubba Ray that I have worked alongside of 15 years ago in TNA, and sometimes a contentious relationship, could kick the living shit out of Jon Moxley. But I don't if he's got diabetic issues now or any kind of health problems I don't know about. I don't know if I'd bank the farm on him, but if he's he's 15 years older, but then again, Moxley's Moxley.
54 years old. Moxley's Moxley. I will say, I think I'd put my money on Moxley with the current day Bully Ray.
Well, in that case, then still
you don't have to, but I think I would. I think I would.
Well, it still counts that he could have in his day. It's not his responsibility to stay in fighting condition at 55 years old just to make good on what he used to be able to do to some motherfucker.
Man, New Jack used to call him out left and right. Like, I'm going to kick your ass. And nothing ever happened. Like, I don't know.
Because I didn't say that he was going to be kicking the shit out of New Jack. Or that he would, if he did, that he would want the constant sword of Damocles of repercussions hanging over his fucking head.
Well, again, I agree with his assessment of the Death Riders and Moxley. I don't know why he had to add, I would kick the shit out of Moxley. Again, the critique was actually pretty good. I agree with what he was saying, but all of a sudden it was, I could kick the shit out of him, not Claudio.
Well, but now here's the thing. To be fair to Bubba Ray, once again, an unknown fucking Home Depot clerk in Newport, Kentucky, fucking tapped Moxley on video a while back. Remember in that amateur Brazilian Hoist Gracie fucking wannabe jiu-jitsu tournament thing that he did?
That was the first
where
one
they were the only two in the division. So he came in second in the division because he lost the one match.
That was the first match we saw. The second one was the better one because the referee stood the two guys up and he raised the opponent's hand and Moxley turned around and stared at the referee like, really? I didn't win? And the guy went to shake Moxley's hand and Moxley was too busy giving it to the referee. The guy just shrugged and walked away.
Don't you know who I am? Oh, God damn it. But nevertheless, Bubba's assessment of the talent or lack thereof is correct. I think Bubba's assessment, at least back in his fighting days, because, I mean, let's face it, this fight is never going to fucking happen on any of these people's part. But in his fighting days, I would have put my money on Bubba against Moxley. And no, I think Claudio could whip the shit out of both of them.
I don't have it here before I get to the next one, but I think Dave Meltzer was asked about this, and he said that one guy's trying to work an angle or a version of that. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't think he's trying to work it with Moxley. I think it's Meltzer's way of saying, oh, Bubba's just trying to get attention.
Well, he's trying to work his way into a match with AEW is what he's
I don't think he's even trying to do. I think if anything, Bubba's just as fucking disgusted as we are with this fucking wannabe Terry Funk. Because Bubba has the Funk connection from ECW. And even bulbous assholes from New York can have goddamn feelings, Brian. So maybe even the bulbous Bubba Ray has some feel like, fuck you, try to be Terry Funk, being compared to Terry Funk. Because that's the first thing I heard about Moxley. When I'd never seen him, when he was still Dean Warmer or whatever the fuck he was in WWF, and Meltzer was writing, oh, this guy's the next Terry Funk. And I'm like, holy shit. And then I saw him, what the fuck?
It was two of my all-time favorites. It was either the next Terry Funk or the next Roddy Piper.
Yes. And then you look at this little fucking, at that time he had a Beatle haircut, which did him no good at all. And you think, what the fuck? He's play acting at a variety of things.
Well, this triggered Josh Barnett, noted MMA fighter.
What am I from out of nowhere? How is Josh Barnett? Oh, wait a minute. I get Moxley hangs around and sniffs the jocks of the real fighters, right? Okay.
Well, Josh Barnett on Twitter, he's the War Master, I think it says. He has an awful font here. It's hard to tell.
A lot of violence in these people's hearts. They ought to get puppies.
Josh Barnett retweeted a post about the Bully Ray comments, and he wrote, "Interesting take here, bully," and that's in quotes, bully. "Mox can handle himself just fine, so he doesn't need me to fight any battles for him. But if you ever have the itch to feel what it would be like to have your ass kicked so thoroughly to the point of epic humiliation, I can help you with that. I can not only, quote, beat the shit out of you, but do so in a way as to make your ass kicking legendary. For you, anytime. Just ask." You know, I hate to take the side of someone taking up for Moxley, but goddamn, that's great.
Oh, well, again, but now we were being honest before, so I'll say that Josh Barnett, currently now, 15 years ago, or probably any other time in the history of mankind, could beat the shit out of Bubba Ray Dudley.
Well, he's only 48. I didn't realize that. He's only a couple years older than me. That's crazy.
Well, and look at all the more he's accomplished than you.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
But anyway, again, it's not like we have to lie again to say, no, in the chain of dog eat dog and kick ass kick or whatever, Barnett so far would be the clear winner here in whichever matchup you want to field.
Well, this got a reply from Bully Ray.
Oh, of course it did.
"Josh, I too can handle myself fine. Fight my battles." No periods, by the way. Awful grammar. "If ya ever had the itch to feel what it's like to beat over so thoroughly that you can draw money, I can help you with that. Not only can I put you over, but get you over in a way that would make your ass legendary. For you anytime."
Oh, God.
So what are your thoughts on that, Jim?
Oh, I wish he'd have sat around and stewed on it a little longer and come up with something better than that. I really do. Because that was almost a wah, 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 wah. So he's saying that, well, yeah, you could just beat the ever-loving shit out of me, but if you'd let me and work with me, I could take big bumps for you. I don't know if that's a big comeback.
He can get you really over, Josh, just like the tables got him really over.
Well, yeah, he's implying that because he's such a legendary master of wrestling psychology, a la Eddie Graham and Leo Garibaldi, that he could just lead this fucking schlub of a fucking MMA fighter through a work that would make him look like the next Tom McGee to Vince McMahon. Have I sub-referenced enough? And that's what Bubba's comeback is, but the irony and the deep down gotcha of it all that Bubba thought that he possessed there really doesn't come out to the general population.
No, I don't think it does. Josh Barnett replied,
Oh, God.
"To be fair..."
We even replied, well, we could do it the easy way or we could do it the hard way.
"To be fair, just from the comments under your post alone, it's clear you are correct here. The amount of people that would pay to see me pull you apart in a wrestling ring or cage would definitely do good or great business. I guess that," and this is in quotes, "heat you've built over the years is pretty marketable, as even your fans," and that's in quotes too, "truly want to see you get your ass kicked for real." Oh, I gotta say, they are right. There is a large wrestling audience that if they knew that Bubba Ray Dudley was actually going to be in a ring with someone who can fight, they would pay to see that. 100%.
Yes.
100%. Remember he pulled some fans? He was booking Ring of Honor. He was the worst period of Ring of Honor ever or whatever, but he was booking Ring of Honor, and he didn't like the way the fans were reacting during the women's match, and he pulled some fan in the back and lectured him about how to be a fan.
Oh, yes, I remember that. Well, I remember hearing about that. I wasn't even there.
It's all these ECW guys. It went to their head. It's crazy.
Damn it. But apparently Barnett's going to go to his head repeatedly, one side then the other. Oh, God damn it. Again, even the worst person can make an excellent point. All of these people do have points of various kind. And in some cases, if they comb their hair right, nobody will notice.
What are your thoughts about, again, just the nature of guys going back and forth on Twitter like this? Not like fans going back and forth, but actual televised television wrestling stars.
Personnel that could, if they really wanted to, if they were motivated that much, they could find the fucking guy's phone number. But then the thing is, it's a public statement to the public that inflames whatever the fuck the guy is responding is to respond to begin with. So he wants people to know that that's his opinion, which is different from the one he just heard. And then they respond back because they want the public to know that, well, fuck you. How about that? Well, let's to start out, fuck you. And so it almost has to be out there in public.
Man, I'm really getting hyped up for this. I really want to see someone kick his ass now.
Well, that's not going to be out there in public.
Yeah, see, that's the problem.
Because they're never actually going to fucking talk about this.
And it would be the most disappointing thing ever if all of a sudden it was like announced like Bloodsport, Josh Barnett versus Bully Ray. Like, oh, great. That's what they would do.
But it'd be more like Power Slap.
Power Slap.
Where it'd be in a fight with me, there'd be two things hit. Me hit you and you hit the floor, motherfucker. Well, that type of thing.
The ECW alumni continue to have a banner week. Staying on top of the wrestling news and the thoughts and minds of all wrestling fans throughout the world. Jim, after a thorough social media ass-kicking like that, you may need a good night's sleep. You may always need a good night's sleep, no matter what the day, no matter what the circumstance or situation. A good night's sleep is important, and we know someone who could deliver a good night's sleep with a top-of-the-line great mattress that we love.
Well, you see, you said they can deliver it. That's a play on words because it actually will be delivered. It'll be delivered to your home or delivered to your apartment or delivered to potentially the home or apartment of your mistress, whoever you're buying this thing for, whatever kind of sordid thing you've got going on and psychosexual drama that you're playing with the neighbors where you send your neighbor and his wife a brand new mattress. I don't know what your thoughts and intents are, but Helix will have no part of it. But they will have a part of free shipping, seamless delivery, and 120-night sleep trial and limited lifetime warranty. So if you do send that mattress over to your next door neighbors with a wink wink and a nod nod about what they're going to be doing on it, well, then they've got 4 months to decide whether they want to call the cops on you or not. That's the way it works, right, Brian?
That's not the way anything we're supposed to be talking about works. I don't know what's going on in that twisted world happening over there. You and the puppies.
Well, it depends on who you live next to.
I don't know. Listen, what we're talking about.
Yes.
I reiterate, I go back to the beginning, Jim. Back to where we began. A good night's sleep and a good night's sleep.
A good night's sleep. And boy, I'll tell you what, you got to watch out because if you get too many good nights sleep, you'll get fired. That's if you're working the night shift. They really frown on people just coming in to work and going to bed as soon as they clock in. So do not have your Helix mattress delivered to your place of employment. Have it delivered to your home and then put it in the back seat of your car before you expand it. And then take it to work overnight and find a place where you can unfurl it where the boss never wanders by, possibly behind some garbage cans or a dumpster. And then
in a house or an apartment. Let's talk about situations
but not if you work
that
nights.
The audience will understand.
You can't get a good night's sleep, Brian, if you work nights unless you follow my instructions for how to install a Helix sleep mattress in the privacy of your own employment space. Behind dumpsters, underneath garbage cans where you can place some old blankets or flammable material, possibly oil and paint-soaked rags. anything to disguise your scent when the boss brings his dog around.
Right now, we have mentioned a bunch of things we shouldn't, but what we can mention and what we should is that, all fun and games aside, inside your house, inside your apartment, maybe,
or in good weather out in the back.
Let's talk about indoors. It's a indoor focus here this week and all summer long with Helix Sleep Gym. We're talking about indoor sleeping, something that Helix specializes in.
Yes, and not only do they bring the mattress to your door, but they'll bring it indoors. And Helix has a variety of mattresses depending on how you like to sleep, on your back, on your side, with your hands tucked in between your legs, cupping your balls tightly. It just depends. They've got a mattress for you. That's why you go to Helix. I'll try it again without choking. That's why you go to helixsleep.com and you look and you do the little quiz of how you like to sleep, and they match you up with the perfect mattress, of which they have a variety of models. And then comes the delivery and the in the door and the all that stuff. And then if you want to drag it out back, nobody's going to stop you. Just don't rip the tag off. If you rip the tag off, that's a federal crime.
Once again, I think that crime is not an active crime any longer.
Have they decriminalized that?
Actually,
do you just get a ticket now? It depends on whether you have your weed stuffed in your Helix mattress or not, as to whether it's been decriminalized.
Pillows and mattresses are different entities.
Yes, but they have pillows at Helix also. So you could and as a matter of fact, ask at helixsleep.com for the weed-stuffed pillows and mattresses.
Do not ask for that. Do not just go online and talk to another person and order a great mattress, once again, without yelling to your specificities and more. Jim.
Yes, I forgot. They took the weed out because they had a problem. They were having fires from people trying to smoke the pillows.
Jesus Christ.
So, folks, right now, go to Helix Sleep. I'll say it slowly so you can say it along with me. Go to helixsleep.com. So what are you doing?
Go to helixsleep.com is advice I think everyone should listen to, Jim. helixsleep.com/JCE.
Yes, do that, and you'll get right now through July 6th as part of the 4th of July sale, 20% off site-wide, 25% off the Luxe Mattress Division collection line, and 30% off the Elite mattresses. So that's 20% site-wide, 20% off Luxe, 30% off Elite, and they've discontinued the weed stuffed mattress. helixsleep.com /JCE.
You can't discontinue what you never had. And all fun and games.
You don't know what you got till it's gone.
All fun and games aside, for a second time, ladies and gentlemen, helixsleep.com /JCE. Get a good night's sleep, just like we do here at Last Manor, and they do at Castle Cornette.
Well, but only if you work during the day. Again, if you work at night, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to follow specific instructions. Just send a stamp and a self-addressed stamped envelope
Helix Sleep
to Jim Cornette.
What are you doing?
Chicago, Illinois, 60609. And I'll tell you how to install the mattress. Underneath your desk is a good place, also at work.
That's right, helixsleep.com /JCE. But Jim, we continue on here with the show. It's been a very good and professional show so far. Let's keep this up. Did you watch any WWE Raw this past week? And I'll just let you know I didn't. I saw a little bit of the end, but it was on at 2 p.m. because they're in England, and Bonanza had Telly Savalas on this week. And that's at 2 o'clock, so I had to watch that. So I watched that.
There you go.
Hour.
You can't compete with Who Loves You, Baby. Can't compete with Telly on the telly with a bunch of jelly. And they were in London for Raw. This was June 22nd. And by the way, I watched the segment I'm about to tell you about, which was the only pithy thing that happened over the course of the 2.5 hours of the program. But they're in London. They just got back from France. right? They were in France for 2 fucking weeks or thereabouts, somewhere in that environment. Italy, not France.
Italy, Torino.
Where is Italy compared to France?
It's the boot. Down.
The boot. Well, nevertheless, they just got back from France or Italy or wherever the fuck. They were back in the United States. Now they're in London, and they're going to be in Saudi Arabia this coming weekend. I'm not even going to say, did they get to go home from London before they go back to Saudi Arabia? Because why would you goddamn want to? You'd meet yourself coming and going by the time you did that. But Jesus Christ on a cracker, do they ever let people work in their home country anymore? This would be the 7th level of Dante's Inferno to me. If the wrestling business had been this way 50 years ago, I would be a retired newspaper reporter doing this fucking program right now. Well, except obviously I wouldn't be doing this fucking program right now. But it wasn't like, oh, if you get in the wrestling business, you go to the Mid-South Coliseum or the Omni in Atlanta, you have to go to fucking Saudi Arabia, Italy, France, London, Belgium, Portugal, the Isle of Man, and Saipan. So right off the bat, I would have declined this thing. Hey,
say hi to Rose when you're in Saipan.
Hello, Rose. My little Saipanese flower. So anyway, they were in London. They had 13,000 and some people there to join them. And the first thing you saw on Raw is Oba's entrance. And because they're in London and it's the international audience that is, they're prone to chant and sing. So here's something that's tailor-made to be chanted for. So they fucking chanted for it. The Oba. And bro, Brian, you say you didn't see it, but he came out in very fancy street clothes. I mean, nice slacks and a colorful and, celebrity looking shirt. He looks great, but I'm wondering, should he be in the gear? The old saying, why cover up that physique? You'd get guys that, the underneath guys, you say, Jesus Christ, if I look like you, I'd go around naked. But I think it makes him look even bigger and more imposing when he's in his gear rather than, but again, they love to humanize people. I always thought wrestling stars were supposed to be bigger than life so you can look up to them and, they're the heroes and the villains. But now everybody's supposed to be a human being with problems and issues just like all the rest of us in this hurry-scurry world, Brian.
I agree and disagree at the same time. Because I always liked on local promos when baby faces and heels would dress in their street clothes. And you kind of get to see, it wasn't like anything was like, oh, I'm surprised he's wearing that. It was kind of an extension of who they were. So I don't mind every now and then. Like Randy Orton, I don't think we've ever seen in street clothes, or not in like 20 years or something.
Because he doesn't look like a star in street clothes.
Yeah, but everyone wears their gear for a lot of the things. I don't know. I don't mind it.
Well, since Oba was born, he's been backed by destiny. And destiny has been very, very good to him. And I got to be honest, they give this guy the same kind of flowery, stilted verbiage that no human being would really say, because they've got to justify their position as writers, but he pulls it off. He says it more naturally than a lot of people would. And also, I think the accent helps, because you expect a guy who English may allegedly be a second language to say things in somewhat of an odd fashion sometimes, or but he sounds like a very educated, like, a guy from England or from England. He'd still be speaking English. A guy from Europe in a fucking 70s sitcom or whatever that would be talking like this with the accent, but would be very learned type of thing. Is that helping, do you think? Or can he just act well enough to make this hokey horseshit sound like he means it?
I think it's working so far.
Well, when he wins the King of the Ring, the question that he has in his mind is which belt should he go after? And he didn't mention champions. He mentioned however they call it, the WWE title or the World Heavyweight Championship. And that's what got the pop. Remind me, Brian, who's got which now? Roman's the world champion.
Yeah. The belt
because
that was
that's the belt that they created because, he would never defend the other belt that he had. And Cody. So they obviously don't want to see Oba beat up Cody, but they sure do sound like they want to see Oba beat up Roman. But nevertheless, as soon as they did that, they played Jey Uso's music. And here came Yeet. And he's doing it. He yeeted all the way through the audience. They're playing the music. There's still a lot of fans yeeting, but does it seem like it's not as crazy as it was at the first, which is natural as things get older? But should we yeet? Is yeeting a sign of disrespect to Oba in the fans' mind? Should we?
Yes.
Should we wholeheartedly yeet with all of our strength when it may lead to the downfall of our ruler?
I also think the fact that there's no consistency right now with the Usos or Roman in terms of, well, really just the Usos with being baby faces or heels. It's all circumstantial. I think that doesn't help either.
Well, no, the circumcisional never helps. But that's the thing, is that you weren't sure exactly from the way that they've been talking whose side of the fence they ought to be on and what they do over there. They beat up the comedian the other night. Jacob did. But I made dinner while Jay got in the ring, and finally the music stopped, and then he threatened to run it back, and fucking Oba said, "Don't you dare run it back," and he ran it back. And then finally, Jay did the promo about everybody counted him out all his life, blah, 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 but he gonna do what he gonna do and shock the world. And I think if Jey Uso ever did a 10-minute promo, they would need to wheel an oxygen tank in, would they not? He looks like he's blowing himself up once he's got there. And the yeeting can't be easy.
He does.
But anyway,
he does seem like he could use a Valium pretty often.
Either that or possibly a suppository. I don't know if he needs to expel something or bring something else in. But he cut the promo and put his finger up, and the fans started chanting Oba. And then Oba said, "Well, when you shoot, don't miss, because I'll destroy you. And even if you do miss, or hit me, I'll still destroy you." Or some way he said it. Either way, I'm going to destroy you. You're not the family member I'm worried about. That was the good. And then everybody, ooh. But it's just, it's odd. In AEW, all the heels are mad at each other. Well, and everybody's mad at each other. That's why you can't keep track. But in the WWE, more often than not, at the top of the card, it's the baby faces that are mad at each other. And the heels are just wandering around.
Sounds exciting. I wish I had not watched Little Joe get.
You wish you'd missed more of it.
Little Joe got into a big issue with Telly Savalas' character, who was this really rich guy that wanted to buy the Ponderosa. And then
I remember that.
He just started poisoning the town. He started buying up other land. He bought the store so the Cartwrights couldn't get any feed.
Yeah.
I had to see what was going to happen. Telly Savalas.
And then they couldn't plant the corn that would grow the seed that would get the crop that would buy the farm that they would live on forevermore. And they all shot each other.
Is it wrong that I now think of a young cowboy Bill Watts when I watch Haas Cart? Well, that was, did you watch anything else on Raw?
No.
That was Raw. I did see that they continued the drama with Solo Sikoa cost Jimmy Uso his match against, I think, LA Knight.
Well, that's a shame.
So the Bloodline drama continues.
Spoiling things for everybody.
All right, well, since that's all you watched of that, Jim, let's preview the Night of Champions. Or the Afternoon of Champions, or possibly the Morning of Champions, depending on what time zone you will be in.
It's going to be the Breakfast of Champions pretty soon.
It's coming up this weekend as we are recording from the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I have the card here, Jim. This will be, I believe...
Now, is this, hold on, is this an actual real arena? Did they build this one from scratch, or is this one the one that they've had all along?
I don't know. I have no idea.
All right.
But we have a big card, a big day of afternoon wrestling action here on the East Coast.
Day of afternoon.
Let's get to it, Jim. In the match for the WWE Women's United States Championship, the champion Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill.
Well, I don't know if anybody's going to flip their wig over this one. Now, here's the thing. Contractually, could this be a loophole if Tiffany loses? Again, how could you justify defending the U.S. title on Saudi Arabian soil unless they're at the consulate? What about that if they have the match at the consulate? The heel says, I've gone to court. You can't have a U.S. title match unless it's on U.S. soil. And then they kidnap her in a panel van and take her to the consulate where they have a match to the death in the basement, and the special referee has a bone saw.
So who do you think will win the match?
Oh, the guy with the bone saw.
Well, he's not in the match. It's Tiffany and
he's
Jade,
not there.
and of course,
he's not there.
They'll be wearing more clothes in this match than you've ever seen either of them wear.
Now, what would be the protocol if her wig comes off in Saudi Arabia? Are they going to cane her because she showed her naked head? How would that be handled?
That's an interesting question, because other women will have their natural hair out, but I guess once you do cover it, do you lose the right to have it uncovered? Huh.
Is there a protocol? Do they have a hair protocol? I get people that handle pubes, pits, and heads that would be able to discern that and give us a ruling, because elsewise they won't know how to act.
All right. It sounds like you don't want to make a pick, and I understand.
Well, I'm picking that Tiffany is going to retain it, and especially if Jade's wig comes loose, Jade will immediately lose the use of one arm.
Jim, in the finals of the Men's King of the Ring tournament, Jey Uso versus Oba Femi, winner gets a title match at SummerSlam.
Well, there's only one of two things that they can do here. Well, one would be obviously is Oba should beat Jey. One would think that would happen, but that would mean that Oba would be locked into a title match at SummerSlam. And if we are to believe what we are to believe, that would be the place where Brock Lesnar would return the favor in Minneapolis. But perhaps that may not be happening. Perhaps that to get Brock to do it the first time, they told him what he was going to get to do the second time. So if Oba is going to wrestle Brock at SummerSlam, then some way or another, Jey Uso has to win, and would Brock cost him that? Or cost Oba that? But if Oba wins this, then that means that he ain't wrestling Brock at SummerSlam.
And I don't know how excited anyone is about Jey Uso in the main event of SummerSlam, but we'll see what happens. The Queen of the Ring finals, Jim. Winner gets a title match at SummerSlam. Io Sky versus Liv Morgan.
Please, Liv, put her in a time machine or a spaceship or a rocket to Mars or make her invisible. Anything. Maybe Danhausen has some type of machine. Just get her away from me. My God, she's the longest running. I don't think that the Brooklyn Brawlers run in the WWF was not this long.
Well, they say time flies when you're having fun. I guess it goes in the opposite direction.
When you're miserable.
Jim, the next match for the United States Championship, the champion Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints.
Well, now the big question is, where's Little Yachty? You think they talked Little Yachty into going all the way over there and taking a chance on getting his head chopped off?
Well, I mean, they have a lot of money.
Well, but he ain't got a lot of head. I'm going to go with Trick. I'm going to go with Tricky. See, he's one of my friends. So that's what I call him, Tricky.
Jim, 2 more big matches, and again, a reminder, the first hour will be live on ESPN.
Wait a minute, what kind of fucking show is this? You've already given us 5 matches, 2 more?
2 more
This
matches.
is like goddamn the biggest show ever.
I've given you 4 matches. In a steel cage, Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker.
I'm thinking and hoping that this will be fabulous, and I think Braun needs to win. Not obviously just beat him and wipe his feet on him. Seth needs to have an out, but Braun needs to get a somewhat for a heel decisive victory in this because he's the young guy coming up and he needs it. And they ought to be able to have just a swell match as well if everybody's still healthy.
And Jim, finally, triple threat match for the undisputed WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes, the champion, versus Gunther versus Sami Zayn.
I would have just shit all over this and yawned and been bored and not give a fuck and cut a promo on them if they'd have just announced this, out of the blue like they usually do. But after the way they built up the match where they shot the angle for this with Sami as the referee, I want to see this. And if they do as good a job with this as they did with that laying out that match, then this could be one of the best. And I know this is a low bar, but one of the best triple threat matches we've ever had. So I want to see what they come up with.
Speaking of what they come up with, they have to come up with a SummerSlam main event. If it's Cody Rhodes, there are a couple different directions they can go. If it's Gunther, a couple directions they can go. Sammy's the real underdog here, but imagine if they gave Sammy a big title win in Saudi Arabia. They'll be throwing camels in the air.
Well, no, have you seen the way they feed those camels over there? They might be.
That's true.
They might be overmatched there, but I don't see, unless they've got him as a wonderful transition into something that would involve other people. I don't know why they would insert Sammy into the belt at this point in time.
All right, I'm going to fantasy book for a second. Sammy costs Cody the match, but Sammy doesn't win. Gunther wins. Goes to SummerSlam. Gunther versus Oba Femi.
That I like.
Keep Jey Uso out of the main event. Cody's got something that'll be pretty hot, him and Sammy. I have confidence in them not fucking that up completely in the weeks until SummerSlam because of Sammy's performances.
Well, but also here, I'm just thinking that with it being Oba and Jay and Oba making the statement, you're not a member of the family I got to worry about, or that I'm worried about, will Jay be some conduit to get Oba into Roman more than, and hopefully the fans as well, more than Oba and Brock? Is that what they're trying to go for? We shall see.
You know, they've done a good job with this main event picture here for this. You can't really figure out how they're going to get to where they're going to go, and you don't know exactly what the matches will be, but you kind of have an idea of who's floating out there. Again, CM Punk's still not back. Drew McIntyre still not back, so other main eventers still not mixed in.
But also the good thing is we're not asking questions like we do about AEW. Why is this happening? Why would you sign this person? Why can't they see blah, blah, blah? This is, you've got a couple of different ways that you could go, and they would, either one makes sense. So this is somewhat of a constructive conversation about questions. And this show, I think, has a couple of better main events than most of these other weekly put together. I don't mean weekly as in 52 weeks a year. I mean weekly as in it's a week they couldn't draw a greasy string out of a cat's ass. These weekly put together big shows lately, this has a little bit of some oomph to it.
Well, Jim, that's WWE's Night of Champions from Saudi Arabia. We have another show to preview, Jim, coming up this weekend as well. AEW. In conjunction with New Japan Pro Wrestling, CMLL, and Wrestle or Wonder World. What is this? World Wonder Ring Stardom. That's the official name.
What are you saying?
World Wonder Ring Stardom is the official name of Stardom. Forbidden Door 2026 from San Jose, California.
How did they phrase it? In conjunction with or in cooperation with? They bought everybody on the New Japan roster. It was worth two dicks and a tickle. And so now it's not like that the New Japan talent is anything revolutionary or coming through a forbidden door. They got a bigger problem getting a visa than they do getting on the card. And again, Stardom, yeah, bite me, blow you, whatever the fuck. It's ridiculous. And there was CMLL because the WWE is trying to put them out of business with AAA. So how is this door in any way forbidden? It sounds like a goddamn revolving door to bus station in Manhattan. Everybody gets to come through it.
Well, a big night of wrestling action. Let's get to this.
That's just questions I'm asking.
Well, maybe I have some answers here for you. Jim, on the pre-show for the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship, Divine Dominion of Megan Bayne and Lena Cross, champions, versus Thunder Rosa and Olympia.
Well, wait a minute. I would say, who did Thunder Rosa piss off? But apparently that answer is usually everybody. But I don't even know who the fuck is Olympia.
Well, you've missed a lot. Jerry Stubbs has really changed.
You know, I always wondered about Stubbs because he had that small head with that big chest. So the two brainless Amazons are going to kick the shit out of these other two girls, whether they like it or not, probably, or whether they mean to or not.
Sounds like a main event anywhere in the country to me, Jim.
Anywhere in the country with a zip code with 4 numbers in it.
For the AEW World Tag Team Championship, the champions Cope and Cage versus the Dogs, David Finlay and Clark Connors.
I mean, you know, what can you say? They're trying to work with some of the young fellows and, you know, get them over, have a good match with them, whatever the goal is here. But to look at these two dogs, and they're kind of the runts of the litter, and there's nothing special about them. And they've come in and appeared in groups, running into the ring and beating people up. But they have no track record of major wins or a concerted, sustained push. So people are thinking, okay, these guys are stars, these guys aren't. And even if Edge and Christian put them over, it ain't going to change anything in this one fucking match.
Well, Jim, our next big match, a big three-way match. The Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, versus El Sky Team of Místico and Mascara Dorada versus Unbound Co.
What?
The Japanese faction of Shingo Takagi and Titan.
Unbound Co? What the fuck is Unbound Co? A branch of Petco?
They have a logo too with a horrible font. I don't know what this is. I don't. There's a reason New Japan chased off fans like me.
Well, and this is going to be the trampoline match where the Buckaroos get to play with people who are apparently their friends from other exotic locales.
Let me announce in advance, referee Rick Knox. The only match I can tell you who the referee will be. Jim, for the AEW Continental Championship, the champion Jon Moxley versus Bandito.
Oh, good Lord. You think Moxley will have the patience to grab the ropes and bend over and assume the position for that dipshit to fucking flip it over his back and then German suplex him? Or do you think he'll just attempt to take him down with his jiu-jitsu mastery before he gets the opportunity?
I think there's going to be a lot of Jon Moxley like walking around, talking to himself, like walking from one corner to the other. And I also think they'll probably, for no good reason, start trading blows really slowly towards the end of the match. And it'll be just like every other Jon Moxley match.
I predict Moxley over.
Jim, for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship, the champion Shota Umino versus Pac.
I bet they won't switch the belt. I don't even know what the belt looks like or what it is, but I bet they won't switch it.
Well, Jim, there's still more action.
Still more.
For the AEW Women's World Championship, the champion Tekla versus Starlight Kid.
Starlight Kid? Is that a guy?
I always saw the name and I never, paid attention to what cards Starlight Kid was on. I guess it's a girl. Who knew?
Well, have you ever had another? Have you ever had another?
I've had another. And another.
Well, another Nutter Butter peanut butter sandwich cookie. Have you ever seen, or can you recall off the top of your head, another female in fiction or comic book heroes or whatever that was called Kid? Something Kid. It'd be Rawhide Kid, Durango Kid, fucking Sidekick Kid, whatever. That sounds odd. And does she have starlight coming out of her cooch? What's going on with her? What is her gimmick? What does she look like?
I think we may have to check. You have to check out at least one of the women's matches. You like Tekla, at least on promos. Can you give this match a chance?
Unless this is in some way, shape, or form one of these Stardom outlaw Japanese indie apartment house girl wrestlers, I'll watch it.
Jim, in the finals of the Women's Owen Hart Cup, winner gets a title shot at All In. Mercedes Moné versus Maya World.
Oh, Maya God. Okay, I'll watch.
You'll watch Tekla and the Starlight Kid?
I'll watch Tekla and the Starlight Kid. I thought you fell over there for a second. I heard your head hit the ground.
All right, no prediction of who.
No, my prediction is I'll watch Tekla and the Starlight Kid.
Dr. Martha Hart, I'm assuming, will be there.
Is Dr. Martha Hart going to fight him too?
Maybe it'll be a
God
three-way.
damn.
Wouldn't that be fucking something? If all of a sudden Martha Hart got in there and started doing Owen Hart's moves.
So all you'd have to do is put in the headlines, Martha Hart in a three-way in Calgary, and boom.
Well, again, they're not in Calgary. They're in San Jose, and there's still more action.
You'd have to go to Calgary to get a three-way with Martha Hart.
Jim.
Yes.
Our apologies to Dr. Martha Hart, but our next match here, no title on the line, no stipulation, a rarity on this card. Kenny Omega versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Oh, good Lord. So this is going to be where, because they can and it's fun for them, Kenny, who's, again, still presented as one of their very top baby faces, will go in there and just have the hardest time in the world dealing with this human fucking Q-tip. A fucking delinquent from an 80s John Hughes movie. Zack Sabre Jr., who with his buggy whip arms and his garden hose legs and his waist the size of Andre's ring finger, is going to goddamn do all these fancy fucking moves. And Kenny's barely, at least Kenny has some weight to him, some size. A couple of biceps. As long as he doesn't open his mouth, you think he might be able to whip somebody. And here's going to come this fucking frail, teenage-looking fucking tampon. And they're going to go 30 minutes trying to choke each other's chicken like Tony Charles and Billy Robbins.
Well, Jim, there's still more.
Oh, good God, how much more?
The finals of the men's Owen Hart Cup. The winner gets a title match at All In. Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland.
I can't. I just can't. If I only had time. You understand? Because the things going on, Brian Last, that you don't know. You don't know, but now you know, because if you know, then that's half the battle of knowing. Certainly to God, Will Ospreay's going to win this. Certainly to all the fictitious deities above that people pray to around this big blue marble. Will Ospreay is going to win this, and Will Ospreay is not going to lose anything until he gets to the stadium. But that's just me.
Well, Jim, finally.
Oh, God, there's more.
In a steel cage.
Oh, I for fucking God.
If Mark Briscoe's team wins, he will earn an AEW World Title match against MJF. Team Briscoe of Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Konosuke Takeshita, and Darby Allin versus MJF and the Don Callis family of Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Jake Doyle, Kazuchika Okada, and Andrade, blah, 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 and Andrade. I'm going to get this out somehow, folks. And Andrade El Idolo.
The El Drabe head waitero. Again, remember when we had the big fucking main event cage match with Undertaker and Austin and Vader and fucking Mankind and Kane, and then we put in two members of Kai and Tai and one of the guys that came in on a tryout.
Can I stop you for 1 second? Because it's happened a bunch of times that people are now pointing out. Do you hate Kai and Tai? They're the example you use every single time. Never anyone else. It's always, let me focus on Kai and Tai.
And no, because it's just that everyone can remember that while they were young, spiffy, well-meaning fellows, they never got past the second fucking match. So actually, it's not really a knock on Kai and Tai as much as an example of where they were positioned during their entire run.
I think Dick Togo could have been a star.
Dick to go if we'd have marketed it, Dick to Go could have might been something. Because that's the way that that's why they wouldn't have me do commentary on a lot of their matches. But anyhow, but no, this is the 12-man is ridiculous. And again, because MJF is in this, and if they're going to shoot any kind of angle out of it, should be for their main event at the stadium. But I can't see how they're going to shoot something to promote an MJF and Ospreay match when they've cluttered it up with all these people and Ospreay's not even involved.
Well,
yeah.
It's AEW Forbidden Door. Big night of action, big weekend of action.
First fucking Forbidden Door I've ever seen not only unlocked, somebody's drilled a glory hole 2 feet from the bottom of it.
And are they running against, I guess they are, NXT has their first premium live event, the Great American Bash, on CW, live at 7 p.m.
Oh, golly. Well, they also better worry about the new Buc-ee's is opening up down on Interstate 65 around Munfordville.
Jim, we've never talked about it. What are your thoughts on Buc-ee's?
It's a convenience store.
No, it's bigger than that now. It's like a lifestyle.
It's a glorified convenience store, and it's the same thing. What is that? The place up there, up in the Northeast that everybody,
Wawa.
You got to go to so-and-so, Wawa. It's the same. No, Wawa burgers are not better than a goddamn normal fast food place. No, Wawa is not some goddamn destination that you should, if you have to travel and you have to be stopping for food or gas or goddamn a piss or whatever, then a Wawa is as good as any. But you're still just stopping for a quick bite, a quick piss, possibly a slightly longer shit, and to get whatever necessities you've forgotten to bring because you're away from home. You don't need to go walk around a goddamn Buc-ee's for an hour and a half shopping. It's ludicrous.
You ever have those, what do they call them, those corn nuggets they have? You know what I'm talking about?
The beaver nugget thing
beaver
they've
nuts
got going on.
Yeah.
Beaver nuts or whatever. Well, yeah, see, you didn't want to kiss my dog's balls, but you want to eat a beaver's nuts.
If they tasted this good, I'd consider it. These are delicious, but
well,
these, like I have them here. I'm eating them right now, folks.
How about some road apples to go along with them? No, I'm not a person who goes to it. It was the same thing with the Love's store. Love's, with that, they were down in Oklahoma 40 years ago when the only place you could get anything to eat really in between Oak City and Tulsa on a Sunday with our schedule was to stop once you got on the Indian Nation Turnpike. Right there was a Love's store where it was a truck stop and showers and gas, and they had a deli and they had sandwiches. Everybody's like, oh, Love's and Love's. It's a goddamn gas station that makes sandwiches. I was not goddamn impressed. We had to eat something so that we wouldn't just get nauseated and vomit up empty stomach bile. So that should be their slogan. Love's sandwiches, better than vomiting empty stomach bile. But otherwise, no, it's not a place I'm going to go on my vacation.
Well, speaking of stomach bile, that is AEW Forbidden Door. And of course, Jim.
Yes.
If we think about things that Tony Khan likes, that we know he likes, he loves being a part of the draft. Even in a neck brace, he loves being a part of it and feeling like he is a part of a football team. He also loves casinos.
I wish he was the tackling dummy.
He loves casinos because just about every single AEW event, almost every one of them is
just
named
about
after
every degenerate and sicko in the world. Is that what you're going to say?
Well, a lot of the events are named after activities in the casino. Maybe if we can
I see what you see. All in, all out, double or nothing, Joker's Wild. Call 1-800-BLOW-ME for your favorite hooker. Ask for Evelyn, that type of thing in the casino world.
Evelyn's a hell of a name for a hooker. Evelyn?
Well, that's why she was special. She was classy.
Jim, let's hook our way back to what we were talking about.
What were we talking about?
Wherever you are, you may want to go to the casino, DraftKings Casino.
Yeah, take me to the casino. Drop me in the water. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. What do you get? Here, riddle me this, Batman. What do you get when you combine bingo-style bonuses and slots? Cashingo! And DraftKings Casino is the exclusive place to play Cashingo slots. New casino players, you can play $5 and get 1,000 flex spins. Now, what that means is you just put that $5 bill right in that slot and you play that, and then they're going to give you 1,000 chances not to fuck up. How in the world can you possibly have such rotten luck that you're going to fuck up 1,000 times? You can claim 50 spins a day for 20 days on your choice of over 100 slots, including the exclusive Cashingo collection. And they have little bells around the handles. They're draped in mauve. They're an exclusive collection. But you can claim 50 spins a day for 20 days. That means that you cannot just waste all of your spins. Because think about this. If you went 1,000 spins without eating, brushing your teeth, bathing, masturbating, any of the daily necessities, what kind of life would that be? So there, you're going to dribble it out a little bit. But nevertheless, Brian, if you'd like to go to the casino without having to bathe or wash your balls or anything, just be all nasty and dirty at home and grunt and pick your nose while you sit here spinning this thing 1,000 times, just download the DraftKings Casino app right now and go to Cashingo.
Yes, do that indeed.
Yes.
Cashingo for you, Cashingo for me.
Yes, that on the Daniel Boone show, that was Ed Ames. He was a member of the Singing Ames Brothers, but he played Daniel's Indian friend, Cashingo.
All right, well, whether it was the Ed Ames show or Captain Video, Cashingo is what we're talking about. And of course, DraftKings Casino. Whether you want a Cashingo or casino, there's only one place to go. Just download that app and tell them what to do, Jim.
Yes, I'll tell you exactly where to go. You download that app and you take that thing and you shine it up. You turn that sumbitch sideways and you play $5 and you'll get 1,000 flex spins. So right now, download the DraftKings Casino app and sign up with the code JCE to claim your flex spins and experience Cashingo, the feature that you can't play anywhere else. It's banned by law for you to play this in other countries that are not as advanced as ours. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Casino. And I'll take a large breath here and attempt to give you some following important, essential information. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility restrictions apply. Non-withdrawable spins issued as 50 spins per day for 20 days, valid for select games only, and expire each day after 24 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. Ends July 22nd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And you may ask yourselves, why don't they just record that son of a bitch and send it to me? And I ask myself the same thing right before I pass out from oxygen deprivation.
The crown is yours with DraftKings Casino, and let's get some air there. The crown is yours, DraftKings Casino. Once again, download the DraftKings Casino app and sign in with the code, or sign up with the code JCE.
I've got the vapors.
DraftKings.
Oh boy.
All right, to get you in the mood, that's Jim's favorite of the tunes.
In the mood for what?
Wrestling talk, hot
Jumping
wrestling
off a
talk.
bridge? Can you play the Munsters theme?
For a variety of trademark and copyright reasons, I only play my own original music. I don't play others. All right, well, this has been the drive-thru.
Yeah.
Here we are, folks.
The Zoom screen is just asking me if I want to play music. Playing music?
Jim, let's get some questions here on the show. This one is the kind of question we get pretty often from listeners who join in. Obviously, a lot of new listeners keep jumping on board. This one was sent in, CornyDriveThru@gmail.com, from Evan Carr. For those of us who are new to the show, can you tell us who George Scott was, what his problem was, and his legacy in the wrestling business? There are some people who only know his name because of you talking about him, and obviously it's a small window into the wrestling life of George Scott.
Well, George Scott was originally starting in I guess they probably started in the early 50s. He was a professional wrestler from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And he and his younger brother, Sandy, who was the Sandy Scott that many people see on the 80s Crockett television when he'd be in contract signings or press conferences or whatever. Sandy Scott worked in the office for Crockett for years and years. George and Sandy Scott were a noted tag team. George was the older brother, and George also got the opportunity to book in a number of places. I can't quote his whole career chapter and verse, but primarily in the ring, they were noted as the Scott brothers, and they did work on top as main event guys in a variety of places, everywhere across Canada, the United States. They were especially popular in the Carolinas when the territory of Jim Crockett Sr. was a tag team territory. Johnny Weaver and George Becker, Bronco Lubitsch and Aldo Bogny, the Assassins, although they were the Bolos in the Carolinas, the Kentuckians, etc. So Sandy ended up staying in the area, living in near Roanoke, Virginia, for the rest of his life. And he worked in the office for Crockett. He promoted towns and did various office things. Whereas George had worked, as I said, as a booker in a variety of territories, and was then most noted because he's the one that they brought in to be the booker after Crockett Sr. died. John Ringley, the son-in-law, Francis's husband, was exposed as having an affair and was excommunicated from the family, and they wanted to get a booker, and George Scott was the guy they chose. And because George Scott had connections with a variety of top talent, because he'd been in the business for 20 years and booked in other places, he had the connections to bring in Wahoo McDaniel or Blackjack Mulligan or the Mr. Wrestling Tim Woods, the original top stars that he brought in to change the Carolinas from a tag team territory that was oriented with guys that were mostly known there to a more singles-oriented territory with nationally known stars and the top talent in the NWA. So for that, he got a tremendous reputation as the architect of the Carolinas' golden years. But as a booker, he had Wahoo McDaniel recommending, bring this guy in, the name Ric Flair. I think he's got a lot of potential. And he had Wahoo and Johnny Valentine telling him, here's how we work our program. And he had all these other top stars that were capable of giving input and doing their thing. So I've always wondered, since he never had anywhere near that level of success as a booker anywhere else, if it wasn't that he came into an established territory and brought in countless top guys that he knew and let them do their shit. Because after that, Brian helped me. But when in 82, he booked in the Carolinas from 75 to 82. And then he got sideways with Crockett. For what reason? I'm trying to think now.
Oh, I don't remember. Got sideways with his brother too, but
and that's another thing, is that even something happened in their personal life that even when they still worked in the territory together, George and Sandy Scott did not speak to each other as far as I know, for the rest of their lives. And even to the point where when George Scott came back in 89, and that was before the TBS had let Sandy go, which is why he was able to work with me all those years in Smoky Mountain. When they saw each other, the day that George Scott first showed up, they actually rode up in the elevator together. It's the first time they'd seen each other in person in, I believe, over a decade. And they didn't speak.
Now, to be fair, there's a chance George didn't know who he was.
That's why I thought he had Alzheimer's. I really did. Because you didn't see any great ideas. You didn't see any revolutionary concept that he was changing for the better. You didn't, otherwise that he brought Steamboat in. Because Steamboat trusted him because he had been the booker and brought Steamboat in the Carolinas years before. But
what did Flair have to say about all this? Because obviously his career took off when George Scott was the booker, but did they have a good relationship? And when he came back in 89, I mean, Flair was one of the only prominent people treated well, but still, he saw what was happening. What did he think?
Well, at first, he was like all the other people that had worked with George Scott from 10 years before or 15 years or whatever it had been. Oh, yeah, this will be great. And then he realized, because it was the number on the Clash of Champions with him and Steamboat that led to them firing George Scott, because he didn't want to promote the fucking Clash of Champions because he had Flair and Steamboat booked at the house shows that weren't drawing either. So then Flair had to demand the book from the committee that they had to quickly form to replace George Scott, who they had not planned on firing. So Flair saw it was 3 months that he was there. Flair figured it out. And I knew as quickly as I knew we were doomed under George Scott if I didn't know the whole thing was doomed. But I knew we were because of the way that he talked to us or didn't talk to us. And again, he brought in Steamboat. And he brought in the Iron Sheik. And signed Sheik to a 2-year contract for $150,000 a year. And they couldn't get out of it for the first year. And by the second year, George Scott was so long gone and they had sent Sheik home and just sent him his check. They forgot to terminate him and the contract rolled over. So they brought him back to fucking TV, figuring we'll just make him do job after job and it'll run him off. But he said, okay, and he did the jobs, but he was so broken down by then, and the matches were so bad, the jobs were bad. So they sent him back home and paid him for another year.
And then he went to the WWF and became Colonel Mustafa, joining Sergeant Slaughter and Sheik Adnan, or General Adnan at that point.
But I think the second year, I'm pretty sure he got paid the entire year's salary for like 6 matches.
Did he have any great defenders after he left? Anyone who said, you guys got it all wrong, you don't understand him, or he's got good ideas?
No, it's not that anybody was saying we hate the Sheik and we want him bad things.
I'm talking about George Scott. I'm talking about George Scott.
Oh, about him afterwards? Me? Plenty, yes.
No, did anyone have positive things to say? Did anyone actually say,
No.
oh, you guys got it wrong. George Scott's misunderstood. He didn't get a
his
chance.
his son Byron, that he hired to be a referee.
How long did he last?
He was gone about the same time George was. There was Strongbow's son, Vincent Young, the breakdancer. He probably wished George was back, because George Scott was friends with Strongbow from years ago in Georgia. And there was another, Paul Jones, because Paul Jones, if you notice, got lost in the fallout because he had a job for good with Crockett, because Crockett, he had been tight with Jim Crockett Sr. and Jim Crockett Jr. They were never going to get rid of Paul Jones. And then when the company was sold, the only guy that could possibly have saved Paul Jones's job, George Scott, his old friend and booker from 15 years before. So they made him an agent, because they couldn't, it could keep him on the air managing, but they made him an agent. But then when George Scott was gone, Paul Jones was no longer an agent. And they didn't even have to take him off the air because he was already off.
Jim, our next question, sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com, is from John. I was in radio, Rockford, Illinois, for 25 years, and used to do all the in-ring welcomes for WWF, WWE, and WCW shows when they were in town. I was asked to have a match against Jimmy Mouth of the South Hart in the early 2000s for WCW, and really enjoyed all of the what it was a great opportunity. All right, this is trailing off here. The match went really good.
The stroke. Joe there was 39 years old when he passed away of a stroke.
The match went really good, and the hometown crowd, to my surprise, popped for it. I was wondering if Jim...
Well, and that makes sense because, again, Jimmy Hart always did radio back in the Memphis days, because he knew a lot of the DJs. He'd been in the music business. He was peppy. He was a good radio guest. And he also did, as I have done and or have booked, the gimmick matches with the manager and the DJ to get local radio publicity. And Jimmy was great with that stuff.
I was wondering if Jim had any good stories about local radio talent doing shows when he was involved. One side note, after doing a WWE in-ring welcome once, Dean Malenko yelled at me because I was, quote, too damn big to be doing ring announcements. Good times.
Well, I mean, the radio DJs on and off, depending on the market, have been involved and been great tools to use for promoting shows, since the 50s. And I mean, even before, probably, but radio came before television. And sometimes if you're in a new market or a market that's not doing well and you need to reach other people, that's when you might go for something like that. Or when we did it in OVW, it was because the radio stations themselves were actually, Clear Channel Radio was either sponsoring the events or buying the event outright in the case of the big shows at the Gardens. And we would be able to not only have those guys that were on the air that were involved in the beef talking it up on their shifts on the air, but the other people on the station, the other DJs would be, oh, who do you think's going to win between so-and-so and such and such? But I mean, that's, something that's been done everywhere at one point or another. And I guess probably the most successful one that I ever remember, as I've told the story a million times, but here in Louisville, Jerry Lawler and Coyote Calhoun, the wacky radio disc jockey. This was at a time where they were running the Louisville Gardens every week. And I would say the regular crowds were probably between 3,000 and 4,000 people. For a regular show, bad weather or a really rotten card, it might be a little less. It might be a little more if it's really something good. And when they did that promotion that they did on the air for 2 or 3 weeks, and everybody in town knew Coyote was literally 6 feet tall and 130 pounds. He was the skinniest human being in the world, but he was a popular DJ. And Lawler can talk anything up. So they booked that match for the specific, it was the week after Thanksgiving. And they sold the fucking gardens out, but that was a night of a bad ice storm in between Nashville and Louisville, and none of the wrestlers, including Lawler, could get to the building in Louisville. So they told all the people, come back next week and bring your ticket stub. It'll still be good. And they booked the same card the next week, and they oversold. They turned people away because in good weather, more people wanted to come. And it tore the fucking house down. Because normally just a DJ alone might get you extra publicity, but you have to, that's for a big main event or something else that's going on the show. That's why you want the extra publicity. This thing, Coyote Calhoun and Jerry Lawler outdrew Jerry Lawler and goddamn any big name wrestling star that you can think of for like a 2-year period. Jimmy Valiant, Joe LeDuc, fucking anybody, because it caught people's attention. Then the match was nothing. They had Coyote brought his Bohemian Alligator Holt, which turned out to be a giant wrestler that had been training with Vern Gagne. Do you remember the name Jan Nelson?
Oh, yeah, of course.
He never worked. They just brought him in just to do this so that nobody would know who he was. He never worked in the territory any other time, but Lawler had a match with him with Coyote in the corner. And then when Coyote got in, did a couple things, Lawler airplane spinned him and dumped him. But it overshadowed everything else, and it just caught on. So that was the most successful radio DJ crossover I can think, because it itself sold out the building when the normal matches were doing 2,000 less.
Did WWE do many of those when you first got there before WCW? WCW started doing a lot of them, it seems like. I remember they were doing stuff, I think, with Danny Bonaducci at one point. They were doing stuff with Bubba the Love Sponge at one point.
Oh, yeah. And see, that got too much and too far. And no, the WWF would have DJs around and have them maybe figured in as a guest manager, or you'd have a talking segment or whatever. And to be fair, most of the time, that's what you need to do anyway. But every once in a while, if you know a guy and you got an idea, you can figure it. But you've got to be careful with what you allow him to do physically. And Vince didn't want to get into that. He didn't have to. And everybody in WCW was marks for quasi-celebrities. So they'd let them just take the store.
Jim, our next question sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Cody G. in Nashville. Who was the best smelling wrestler you've ever been around?
What the well, Sherry Martel, how's that?
Our next question, Jim, sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com, was sent by John Williams, Pleasant Hill, Missouri. Check out the pizza place in Blue Springs.
Yes, and they're free.
Well, no.
As a matter of fact, you get to be a partner in the business this week.
No, you don't. You don't.
The pizza place, Blue Springs, Missouri. He'll give you 20% of the joint.
He will not. That is one deal that's a step too far, but I'm sure he'd love to sell you some pizza. Let's go to this, Jim. When wrestling families are discussed, I noticed the Youngblood brothers, Jay, Mark, and Chris, aren't mentioned often. How would you rank their careers against other wrestling families of the era?
Well, then you have to, part of the reason may be because it wasn't a marketed thing nationally, that now the Hart family dynasty or the Von Erich, it's been over and over with the documentaries and kept in the public eye. So those are families that get recognized more, and the Fullers and Welches, but there was so many of them for so long a period of time that they were talked about in wrestling. The Youngbloods were technically the Romeros, and they started with their father, Ricky Romero, who was the top baby face that, wasn't a member of the Funk family in, West Texas for years and years. And I think part of it also is, to be honest, Jay was phenomenal, Jay Youngblood. And the team with him and Steamboat was incredible as a babyface team. Boy, if the Midnight could have formed a year earlier and got to the Carolinas a year earlier, or whatever, that would have been dynamite. But unfortunately, he had his issues and he passed away so young. And Mark and Chris, I mean, they were good young baby faces. And maybe if they'd had an opportunity in a different place at a different time, they would have broken through. But while they were used and they had their successful moments, it wasn't like they were major stars in the wrestling business for any lengthy period of time, if at all, depending on your definition of major. Brian, I'm not trying to denigrate them, but their father was probably more impactful in his territory in his time because of the importance he had to business in that part of the country than they got to be, except for Jay's run with Steamboat.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jay, who was one of the top young stars in the business, very quickly, within like a year and a half, left Mid-Atlantic, was in Mid-South for a minute in 84.
Yeah, he was there right as we were leaving. He came in.
And then he kind of bounced around a little bit, and he started gaining weight very quickly. And then he died. I mean, it all happened pretty quickly. He died in 85, I think. Mark had a run in Mid-Atlantic, I want to say in 84, where they were using him pretty well. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. When I first was exposed to them, it was WCW, 1990. And then they were on Global. Like, I'd see them in the empty Sportatorium. So I don't even know really where they worked. Maybe some All Japan, I'm not sure. Did you guys work with them in 1990 at all?
I'm trying to think. Boy, I'd have to go back and look through the book. See, that's just, if so, not often.
All right, well, that's a sad end to the question, but
I mean, that's the answer to the question. It didn't all come together.
Well, Jim, our next question sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com is sent from Morgan in Beacon Falls, Connecticut. Does Jim house train his dogs?
Yeah, we are trying. And obviously Harley had got to the point where she was completely zero maintenance. If she was up here in the office laying at my feet while I was recording and she had to go, she'd get up, walk in my bathroom, go on her pad, come back, lay down the same place, never know she was gone. And she obviously, as an adult, she liked going outside more. Although occasionally she'd look over her shoulder at you kind of accusingly if you were staring at her while she was pooping. She felt self-conscious. These two hellions, they're good about going on a pad, but they mistake the pads that they've been going on. They look confusingly like floor mats and area rugs. So it's still shit that we can pick up, replace, and or clean if we need to, but it's a work in progress. And they have their little puppy apartment with their specific place they're supposed to go in there. So if we pay attention to their signs, they do try to get in there and go in one place. So it's a mixture of everything. And the pooping is the same, except they're little poop factories. They poop a lot more than they pee.
What are you using for treats?
Right now, because we've just had them a week, we're still feeding them the puppy kibble that the lady that we got them from that had the pup. Well, she didn't have the puppies herself. She had the dog that had the puppies. They wouldn't be this cute if she had had the puppies herself, because she wasn't an attractive lady. But nevertheless, they're still on the puppy food, and we've gotten a little freeze-dried stuff that we're sprinkling over the top of it. They're just loving. And then for treats, they like carrots, the little baby carrots. And we found out at the vet they like Cheerios, but we don't want to give them too much sugar. So we're starting to ease them into a nice diet where they won't have health issues. And they like the turkey collagen sticks, not rawhide. They can't digest it.
All right, rawhide. Jim, as we get ready to, begin to wrap things up.
We begin to begin.
Let's return to our list of the top wrestlers in their 40s for 1984. This would be part 3, our final look at this list. Jim, let's refresh everyone with who is on our list so far. Jack Briscoe, 43. Antonio Inoki, 41. Bob Armstrong, 45. Blackjack Mulligan, 42. Ray Stevens, 49. Giant Baba, 46. Harley Race, 41. Ivan Koloff, 42. Jimmy Valiant, 42. Mil Mascaras, 42. Terry Funk, 40. Wahoo McDaniel, 46. Abdullah the Butcher, 43. Ernie Ladd, 46. And finally, the Iron Sheik, 42 years old.
And of course, as we've mentioned, and you can go back and check the YouTube channel, Official Jim Cornette, for the best 20 wrestlers in their 20s, the best 20 in their 30s. All of them were Hall of Fame lists where we couldn't even pare it all down at first, that there were main event, money-drawing featured guys all over the United States in their 20s and definitely in their 30s with multiple years of experience. And now, as we've seen going through the list of guys in their 40s, and that's just who made it, not the entire list. You see, these guys were already, if you'd have had the Hall of Fame induction in 1984, all of these guys would have qualified already. So just an amazing quantity of talent, if nothing else, compared to today, not only comparing the ages of everybody and how guys in their 20s now are barely getting a break, and then they were main event in the Superdome, but also the sheer number of all of these guys were working at the same time in the business in the United States alone. And try to come up with 20% of these number of names of top talent like this in today's business. You can't. So there's a few more on today's list. I'll follow you, Brian.
Yes, we will finish today with the look at the top wrestlers in their 40s, but picking up with an interesting one. Wow, it's at this point that I realize I'm older than Bill Watts was during the last Stampede. That's crazy. Turning 45 in May, the Oklahoma Stampeder, Cowboy Bill Watts.
And he had been retired for 2.5 years at that point in his own territory. Ed was only 45 years old and I was looking at him like, oh my God, this guy that's so old is coming out of retirement to work with us. It's fucking great. He's 20 years younger than I am now. Fuck. Again, Bill Watts, depending on our parameters, because we've said, well, so-and-so on some of the other people, so-and-so had a great career, but the 84, they barely worked or they were about to retire. It was on the downhill slide. Watts is kind of the opposite same thing, if that's a phrase, in that he had already been a major wrestling star for 20 years. He main evented Madison Square Garden against Bruno Sammartino. He main evented the Cow Palace in San Francisco against Ray Stevens. He had worked all over the country and for every major promoter, and then had come back to his home territory and bought into Leroy McGurk's office, had booked Atlanta, worked on top in Atlanta, same thing with Florida, booked there, worked on top there, and then opened up Mid-South Wrestling and took the part of McGurk's territory that didn't traditionally draw any money and started running the fucking Superdome. And established, even though because of its brief life, because it didn't really, Mid-South didn't start until what, 79 or was it 78? 78. He's the boss of one of the biggest territories in the business. And even though he'd been retired from the ring for the previous couple of years, when he comes out of retirement in this year, 1984, he set the gate record or attendance record, or both, for every town in his territory because he was wrestling in the main event. So how does he not be on the list except he's already past it? He's retired and too big for a wrestler list.
It's interesting. I mean, technically he's eligible. And the one thing he did that year was the record-setting thing of all time for the territory. It doesn't feel right to include him on the list. You know, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, that's what I'm saying is it may be that he's past it. It's like he's at a high level of a promoter at this point and will be for the next few years, but he won't wrestle again after this year, except two more brief times that didn't work because it was gone to the well too often. So
yeah, 85. The Stampede's alive in 85.
Ooh. And the Stampede got 86 in 86.
Stampede's going to scare Korchenko out of the business in 86. And then work with the Freebirds.
Yeah, you might have to leave him off, but it's no shame in that respect.
No, not at all. Jim turning 47 in March. Mark Lewin.
Again, legendary name that worked everywhere, not only in the country, but around the world, was a good in-ring performer, drew money wherever he appeared for the most part. But is this a case of, yeah, but, he's about ready to retire and the best years are behind him?
He would still be active for a few more years. Not that a lot of that period of time is looked upon fondly, the dark days of Florida, the dark days of Dallas.
Much of it may be cavorting with Kevin Sullivan around the Pacific Rim for indie shows that we never knew happened.
It's an interesting one because he is an all-time legend. He was an all-time legend already at this point. At best for me, question mark.
Yeah, and at that point also, he's 30 years in. He started as a teenager. Was his brother Don Lewin, was he older by just a year or two and didn't stay long? And Ted, the younger brother.
He was the artist.
He was the artist and didn't stay in the business long. But yeah, there you go.
All right, Maniac Mark Lewin, a Hall of Famer, regardless. Jim, he wasn't very active in 84, but he did have some matches for the expanding WWE. Turning 43 in January, Pat Patterson.
And once again, the only negative criteria for him is that he was about to wind down his in-ring career to become Vince Jr.'s second in command for years. He might not have known it right at this point. And there was an announcer period transitioning. He knew he was going to do something behind the scenes. But Pat Patterson, since the mid-'60s, had been recognized as one of the best in-ring workers in the business. He'd drawn huge money with Stevens in California, both as a team. Then when they switched Stevens, and worked them against each other, and then Patterson took over as the top guy. But he worked for the AWA for Vern. He was on top in Georgia and Florida in multiple runs in the WWF, working against the champion. And he's the only guy that got 4 title shots against, who was it? Pedro? Backlund. I'm sorry.
79.
Pedro. Yeah. Yes. So he's an all-time legend at that point, but as like with Watts, he's about to get into management. What do you think?
I don't think he would be on the list for 84, even though he was still great in the ring when he ever actually worked, but he didn't work. I don't even know if he had a TV match that year. I don't remember. Well, Jim, also on the list, also turning 43 in January, Polish Power, Ivan Putski.
They were born the same month and year, Pat Patterson and Ivan Putski. That's fucking... You can't find 2 people that looked any more dissimilar visually. You know, I got to be honest, I never got Putski. I got Igor more than I got Putski. Because at least when you saw the mighty Igor, it was always the same gimmick. There was some consistency there, plus he was first with it. Putski, depending on what territory, he's either working the fucking Igor gimmick or he's a goddamn bodybuilder. And then what was it Paul Bosch said? Paul Bosch in Houston got Putski over with the Igor gimmick better than Igor was. And he drew all kinds of money with Putski. And he said then he went to work for Vince and became a fucking bodybuilder. He said, they've ruined Ivan Putski. But I didn't really get the interviews that I did see. I never got really the in-ring that I did see. And I believe, or I can understand why the gimmick would have worked, but just Polish Power standing there flexing his fucking bicep, looking like he's jacked to the gills, like he's Lex Luger's goddamn physician's delivery man. I never got it. Didn't see it.
I won't argue with you. Turning 40 in October, Jim, from the Sheepherders, Butch Miller.
The fact that any of the Sheepherders were in their 30s in the 80s is just incredible. And Luke, bless him, I was working with Luke in Tennessee in 82, and him and Jonathan Boyd. And just from the scarred faces and the missing teeth and everything, you could have sold them, not that they were old men physically and body-wise, but you could have sold them as being in their 50s. And Butch was, fit the same classification there. But Butch and Luke were much, much nicer and easier to get along with than Jonathan Boyd. I'll say that. As both the Royal Kangaroos and, or the Sheepherders, and or whether it was Luke or Norman Frederick Charles or Butch, they were always used well in various places. They were good workers. Do I see them on this list? Brian, do you see them on this list?
I don't for 1984, no.
There you go.
Well, here's someone you were around in 1984, turning 44 in December, the exotic Adrian Street.
And see, that's another thing. When I managed Adrian in Memphis in 82, he was already 42 years old. But he had just come to this country, so he was a 20-year plus veteran that was brand new. That could still be a thing in those days. I loved Adrian and Linda both to death. Wonderful people, and what a fucking gimmick and what a talent. And Adrian was also an artist, and Linda sewed most of their ring outfits. They even made their own fucking plates. Linda did pottery. They made their own fucking plates. They were like, they could have existed in the 9th century in a farmhouse somewhere in Wales. And Adrian's style was unique. especially if you didn't know anything about World of Sport style or the British style, but his still was unique. But on a list that's including Terry Funk and Ray Stevens and the other names that we mentioned, I'm trying to talk myself into it, but did Adrian reach that level as either in his work or his talk or his money drawing capability? And the answer is no, especially in this country, when even though he had a nice run for a few years, he didn't start here till he was 42. So that worked against him.
A good 84. Worked with Bill Dundee. Of course, the big angle where he beat Terry Taylor by kissing him. And Terry Taylor got rolled up. And then Terry Taylor came out the next week and kissed Miss Linda at ringside during an Adrian Street match. And Adrian Street got out of the ring and started beating up Linda. Very interesting.
Yes. How dare you? I didn't mean to. And, and boy, howdy, can you imagine? I said at the time, the more entertaining television would have been showing video of Dundee convincing Bill Watts that his babyface Mid-South TV champion was going to lose by being kissed by another man on Watts's television program. It got almost as much heat with Watts as it got with the fans when they aired it.
Well, Jim, we continue on here. The face of bland Midwestern wrestling, Bob Brown, turning 46 in October.
Good. Got Bulldog Bob Brown, the original baked potato with arms and legs. I have never seen a main event guy with a less appealing physique, a less interesting personality, or a less believable overall demeanor from the territory days. Now, the doors have been opened here in the modern times, but in the territory days, oh my God, it was a fucking rib. It was a fucking rib. He was Marty Jannetty's tag team partner in 1985 when we got booked in Kansas City. And so he was 38, that means he was almost 50. And he spent 20 years there in Kansas City in the territory, either working there, stooging there, or being in the office there, but somehow or another, he hung the fuck on until the whole thing was dead.
And then he went and tried to help kill Canada by wrestling up there.
That's right. And we're in Winnipeg and Vancouver too, right?
He was in Stampede also. Yeah.
Good Lord. We worked with him and worked alongside him a time or two, but he must have been a hell of a nice guy to be able to get people to do him favors like let him wrestle for him.
Maybe it was by gunpoint. Who knows? But Jim, we move on with the list here. Amazingly, turning 40 in August, Joe LeDuc.
Good God. That means that when he was working with Lawler in 78 in Memphis, and all those pictures that you've seen that I took of him, he was a 34-year-old man.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Wow.
He looked like a Marvel Comics super villain come to life. And I've said this before about a couple of people, but if I had the Joe LeDuc as he existed as a physical specimen between, say, 1973 and 1978, both in terms of, by that point in time, he would have been in the business long enough to know what he was doing, and he did. He worked in that time period on top in Florida, Georgia, 2 different territories in Tennessee, Canada, everywhere that he appeared. But if I had that guy, that, say, 30 to 35-year-old guy, exactly as he existed in the Attitude Era, with Austin and Rock and Undertaker and Mankind, And I could have managed him and not any of Vince's funny ha-ha with the managers, like we were going for heat in the Mid-South days. Joe LeDuc could have been the biggest heel in wrestling. Can you imagine that era, that age, Joe LeDuc in the ring with Mick Foley? Or just eating Steve Austin's face off? Or getting up after The Undertaker tombstoned him and shaking it off? Between the fucking head full of scars and the eyes and that massive scar down his chest, and do the fucking test of strength with 10 guys from the audience, do the goddamn blood oath with the axe on live television where they can see he's really slicing himself. You could have drawn millions of dollars with a fucking physical specimen like that. And he did draw money through his whole career, but the finances were different in those days. And probably his biggest houses he ever drew were in Montreal. He and his brother, along with the Vachons, they sold out the fucking Forum. But even though he worked as a babyface in Florida and in Knoxville and some other places, the Smiling Lumberjack, as a fucking heel, he was the most unique thing I've ever seen. So I don't know if we can put him on this list or not, but he was always, to me, my favorite monster.
I agree with you about the greatness. I also agree with you. I would be reluctant to put him on a list for 84, I think.
Well, especially because now this was, unfortunately, his last run in Memphis. He was 40 years old, but age caught up to him. He didn't just look older facially because of all the scars and the shaved head and the way he looked, but age caught up to him. The bumps, he could take big backdrops and big body slams when it was called for. And probably doing the deal where he had a concrete block broken over his head with a sledgehammer in a number of territories might not have done him any good. And by, 10 years later, 1994, Randy Hales got him to Memphis for one Memphis Memory show, and I booked him, and he didn't show up because he was having diabetes issues at that point and died just a couple of years later. So 84, his health was probably, or at least his injuries were catching up to him. And there was a grim, brief little run in the WWF where most people didn't even see him in, 86, 87?
87, 88.
Headbanger.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they did that just because Pat Patterson or somebody heard, oh my God, Joe LeDuc wants a job? Yes. And then they saw what they were getting instead of what they remembered.
It was a weird name during a period of time where headbanging was an actual thing taking off, and, it was a big thing on MTV.
Yeah, because he had nothing to do with heavy metal. He was a headbanger. I'm sure that was like a Vince thing. He it looked like he would bang your fucking head, but
well, Jim,
I don't know.
A few more names here on the list. This next one, not a wrestler, but I put him on the list because I think he should at least be amongst the other wrestlers in discussion. Turning 40 in November, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Well, I think we can skip over this fairly quickly and without wasting a lot of time, Brian, because if you don't put a check mark next to Bobby Heenan's name, I'll never speak to you again. How about that?
So you think he should be on the list, is what you're saying?
Yes. I think Bobby Heenan should be on the list of anybody and anything in wrestling.
All right.
So just check him and get it over with.
Again, can't doubt the talent. Don't know how much he worked in the ring, but Bobby Heenan was a different type of manager. Jim, the next wrestler, turning 45 in 1984 in February, The Missing Link.
Ooh. I mean, Dewey Robertson wrestled for 20 years, didn't draw 15 cents in Chinese money. The Missing Link ran for what? 6 or 7, and everybody still remembers what he looked like and some element of the gimmick. Dewey Robertson was a really athletic, good, solid worker that could have good matches and had a great physique and never drew really any fucking money. And the Missing Link had goofy matches with his gimmick and drew a bunch of money. And he was just really starting to take off, on his WWF run at this point in time, where he would only get bigger before he got smaller. But just because it's such a fucking gimmick, does he belong on a list of the greats and near greats, or what do you think?
I think at best he would be a question mark, and then I don't know if he would make it to the top of the question mark list. He's a memorable gimmick, a memorable name, a memorable face. Had a very brief run in the WWF, I think the beginning of '85, managed by Bobby Heenan.
Yes.
And then he worked for, Watts, and he worked for Fritz, and had the incident with Gary Hart. And then he disappeared. Memorable, I wouldn't put him on the list.
Well, there you go.
Jim, 46 in August. I'm going to give 2 names for this person, because I think he may have used both during the year. The Assassin or The Flame.
The Flame. Jody Hamilton was under both masks. Obviously, Jody is most remembered as the Assassin, along with Tom Renesto, who they were the team of the Assassins that everybody remembers and was noted from Georgia from years ago, and that they were one of the top masked tag teams. Jody, while Tom Renesto unmasked during the Gunkel and Georgia wrestling war in '72 and became the booker, and for whatever reason, Renesto would get jobs as booker. He booked for Nick Goulas in '78, '79, that era. And I think he was probably the booker when the Gordy and Hayes came in to work for Nick Goulas the very first time that they left Mississippi and tried to become the Freebirds. Nick and Renesto didn't want him to do it. They didn't get the deal. But I never saw where Tom Renesto was a great fucking booker. He booked Memphis in the '80s. And it was like, blah. And he was like George Scott. He used his 2 kids. One of them was an Indian gimmick, and the other one was a goddamn heel manager, I think. I don't know. Tim Talltree. And who was the other one?
Tim Talltree and...
what
was the other one's name? I know this too.
Oh, God damn it.
Kurt Brown.
Nevertheless, Jody soldiered on as a wrestler, and this was, I guess, either his last full year or maybe '85 would have been the last full year. Jody opened up an independent promotion in Atlanta at this period of time right after this period of time when Crockett had gone out of business and, there was no local promotion anymore. And then later on, he'd have Deep South with the WWE developmental program. Jody was an effective worker and talker, and he had great psychology, but by this point, the weight had gotten to be an issue, and everybody could tell how old he was, because even though he was wearing a mask and you couldn't see his face, they knew they've seen this guy for the past 30 fucking years. So how old has he got to be? So as a national name, no. And as a guy in 1984, I think no. But what do I know?
You know a lot. I'll agree with you. No disrespect, but for '84. Jim, the final name on our list here had a very interesting 1984. Turned 44 in March, began the year in Georgia, ended it in the WWF. He was the national champion in the WWF, the spoiler.
And of course, Don Jardine is who a lot of people in the business have referenced when they talked about Undertaker. Oh, he's the big guy that likes to walk the ropes. Jardine was similar. He wasn't as tall as Taker, but he was tall, and he had a very methodical style that kind of was reminiscent, well, not reminiscent of, because his came first, but the Undertaker's original slow kind of plodding monster movie thing was somewhat reminiscent of Jardine, in that he would have that straight ahead style, and then suddenly he'd uncork something athletically that a big guy shouldn't be able to do. Gary Hart always said that he protected the mask, and Jardine protected the mask. Anytime they went to territory, they said the mask was not negotiable. If that's a problem, tell us now, because we're not dropping it. And then the promoter would say, oh, no, whatever. The booker said, oh, it's okay. And then later on, when they got hot, they'd want him to drop it. But he said the only time that Jardine did drop it, he looked like such a nice, normal guy that it killed the fucking mystique. So when they kept the mask on him and people couldn't see that he was a nice-looking, friendly guy, that the physical appearance and the body language that he had made him intimidating, and he'd walk the ropes and do all the shit. Having said that, he worked on top as the spoiler for years in a variety of territories. But by this point in time, he was simply because Georgia was in trouble, Ole was in trouble. Jardine was a guy he could depend on, put the belt on him. Suddenly Vince ends up with everything, and now he's a champion for Vince by virtue of being in the right place at the right time. And did Don Jardine work another full year in the wrestling business after this?
I think he was around for a little bit longer. You know, again, he wasn't working with Gary Hart anymore. That was a big change. And he got lost in the shuffle in the WWF pretty quickly. For someone who was a recognized national name with a pretty cool gimmick, all things considered, just lost in the shuffle after coming in as a champion after the Georgia purchase. I think we could agree not on the list. Well, Jim, we have one, two...
But then all these people in some way are qualified for or should be in a wrestling hall of fame. We're just trying to figure out the best of the best that are on this list. So
for this year.
And for that particular year, with some exceptions, like I don't care what year it was for Terry Funk or Bobby Heenan, or, whatever.
Let me make a correction for that. Terry Funk did return for the 84 tag team tournament for All Japan. So I didn't realize, I forgot that he returned. I thought he didn't return until 85. Jim, we have 16 names on our list. Next time on the show, we're going to go through the question marks, get the rest of the list together, the other 4 names, and we will look at the wrestlers in their 50s for 1984. One last question here before we wrap things up. I guess Tony Khan just did an interview with a podcast. Josh Godwin, it appears to be the interviewer.
Oh, okay. He's related to Phineas, and, well, I'm not sure he's related to Henry. I think he's just related to Phineas, because he was related to one of the pigs that Phineas used to have a fling with.
Tony Khan was asked to name the 4 new pillars of AEW. Remember, they had the pillars of MJF and Darby and Sammy and Jungle Boy.
And then a bunch of those femurs were broken.
Well, who are the current pillars? Tony Khan has named Tekla, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, and Mercedes Moné.
Oh, Christ.
As the 4 pillars of AEW, or maybe the 4 people who have long-term contracts, I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on this current list?
If I were them and that was the pillars that I was depending on to support me, I would put immediately a weight limit sign up on whatever this is and tell people to empty their pockets and don't bring anything heavy with them in their suitcase. what Kyle, I can understand, although, as we've said before, and I'm not going to belabor the point, he's going to get nothing but bad habits and injured over there from going through some piece of furniture. He needs good training to develop the athletic ability that he has into some type of psychology. And that's why the Braun Breakers of the world are going to be megastars, and Kyle's going to still be over there playing with the guys on their trampoline. But Kyle, I can understand. Kevin Knight, I'd be willing to give that a shot because he's as good to me as Sammy Guevara ever was, and he was a pillar. Tekla, I don't know, and I'm not even being sexist here, if we should say that she ought to be one of the four things holding this whole company up. And Mercedes fucking Monet, you have to be out of your mind. And I don't care whether she's suddenly gotten over her yips and started having good in quotation marks or great Japanese style girls matches that go for half an hour. If she was going to draw any money, she'd have done it by now. And nobody gives a shit. So I'd say he's got 1.5 pillars there.
Well, there it is. The new pillars of AEW, according to Tony Khan. Is it a good idea to put something like that out there? Or do you risk pissing off other young talent who think that they...
Well, it worked out so well the first time.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't see why you wouldn't do it again.
All right. Well, before the pillars and the walls come crumbling down, the drive-thru is closed. There we go.
And the walls come tumbling down, and the walls come tumbling.
All right. Well,
rumbling.
We'll be back in a few days. The walls will be tumbling and rumbling in a few days. On the Jim Cornette Experience, wherever you find your favorite podcast. And of course, next week, back here on the drive-thru. Hopefully I get my voice back by then. Jim, patreon.com/Cornette. $5 a month gets you access to the archive going back to 2013. Patreon.com/Cornette. The official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Subscribe today. Just go to YouTube and search for Jim Cornette. Full episodes, clips of the episodes, omnibus collections, so much more. That great artwork from George Livinitis. The official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com. What's going on, Jim?
The rest of the month of June, and then you're fucked. So get that order in before the end of June, and all proceeds from sales of my book, Heroes and Friends to the WHAS Crusade for Children, and other proceeds of other items on sale now at JimCornette.com come to me. So buy everything.
At JimCornette.com. The drive-thru is brought to you by the law office of Stephen P. New, 877-50-STEVE. Get even with Stephen at newlawoffice.com. But until the experience in a few days and next week back here on the drive-thru, for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!
Down, down, down.